As the Consumer Goods Council of South Africa, we have reimagined a world where your life takes center stage, where every facet of it is treasured and given utmost priority. We rise with a deep sense of purpose, motivated by a strong desire to make a positive impact that goes far beyond the walls of our organization. We believe in the power of unity and collaboration. We recognize that our strength comes from the collective efforts of our dedicated team and the unbreakable bond we share with our members, communities, and the entirety of South Africa. As CGCSA, we have given life to a vision of a brighter future. We are a ray of hope and a transformative force, with the goal of always going above and beyond for our members, providing them with the solutions and expertise to enable them to trade better and supply excellent goods and services to their customers. This is achieved by striving to become the leading voice for the dynamic consumer goods industry, not just in South Africa, but across the continent. We believe in the power of advocacy and championing for the causes that are most important to our members. Through the CGCSA Foundation and our member organizations, we drive projects and initiatives that shape a better and brighter tomorrow. Our commitment to excellence is most apparent within our business unit. We strive for excellence in all we do. We are completely committed to what we do, from the smallest detail to the largest goal. This dedication guarantees that our contributions to South Africa's consumer goods industry is both impactful and transformative. We are the solid foundation of our communities, a strong force upon which brighter futures are built. The cornerstone of our goal is our constant dedication to sustaining the livelihoods of many economically disadvantaged families, a commitment that demonstrates our role to not only grow our economy, but also propel it to new heights. We are not just shaping the future of our organization. We are shaping the future of our nation and the continent. We stand as a testament to the boundless potential of dedication and unity in the pursuit of a better, brighter, and prosperous South Africa and sub-region. Our role is to provide value to our members through the delivery of services. Our role is to validate every business, regardless of size, with its own unique barcode. Our role is to ensure that every product consumed is secure and contributes to the wellness of our people. Our role is to provide skill development to our future generation in order to secure employment and further grow our economy. We are extremely proud of our role as change catalysts, champions of progress, and architects of a brighter tomorrow. We are the Consumer Goods Council of South Africa.
Louder. I don't know if you've got short memories, but this is one of the best conferences you will attend this year. If you've been here last year and the year before, I don't know, I can already see the smiles on your faces. It's going to be hot. It's going to be filled with some of the most exciting conversations. This is where I catch up on what's happening in the world. I wait the whole year, and then now I just take a breather and I find out what's happening in the industry. Not really, no. We have to be on all the time, and every person who's here today is on all the time, understanding their industry, fine-tuning their business. You know, when you speak with industry leaders and you see how they lead their businesses in such tough economic times, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, our industries have got some of the best leadership talent, making sure that we are surviving some of the toughest times I've seen. And these are not just gray hairs from the braids, these are actually my gray hairs. So I've seen a lot, and I can tell you we have the best that have made sure that this industry continues to be the #1 employer, one of the biggest employers in the country. So without further ado, I'd like to invite on stage Gareth Ackerman. He is the leader behind the CGCSA. And I think I want to take this opportunity with Gareth to reflect. Last night we had a session, Gareth, and I looked back and I remembered all the years we've had. By the way, the only reason I reflected was because I was planning my outfits, and I chose this one particular skirt that I'm gonna revive this number. And luckily, the person next to me said, you wore that in 2022 at the same conference.
So we shouldn't have it so often.
Oh, Gareth, where's your loyalty? Please, keep it where it needs to be, right here. So, and then I really started to reflect. We had some of the most fantastic years. If you remember, after COVID, I think for me that's the most memorable one. And we really had to start thinking about who we were and what we were called to do. So I don't know what your thoughts are on reflecting on the years that was.
Well, it's Nelly, firstly, thank you for coming back, and welcome to everybody. It's great to see such a full house. I think we've got an all-time record, at least in the last 10 years, of registrations for today, and it's been amazing. And well done to the team for putting it all together, and particularly to all of you for being here. Hopefully it's going to be a great day today.
Thank you.
But to answer your question specifically, if we look back over the last 5 or 6 years, when I started this job, I actually had hair, it's like your color, even though it's a little bit like mine. But, and this is what it's done to me. And you can even see the picture up there. But the problem is that we've had, as an industry or as a company, we've had a really, really difficult couple of years. We've had an industry that's been struggling with inflation. We've been struggling with load shedding. We've been struggling with political uncertainty. But I think we are slowly getting through it, and we are slowly growing as an industry. And if you look at those dim, dark days after COVID, when we, as a country, were struggling, and I think it's coming back slowly, and hopefully with the GNU and with the hope that we're seeing coming out of the recent elections, that will translate into something that is positive. And if it's positive, it means growth, and if it means growth, our industry will grow along with all the others, and hopefully better than the rest of the industry.
And I think it is important to note that things are getting better. Right, but we've also seen some really interesting things, crazy things that we never would have thought. We saw the uprisings to a scale where we've never seen during our times. We saw the pandemic. We saw, again, a global market that affects South Africa's market tremendously. We're having really big challenges. It's difficult to say, should we be very hopeful or should we be cautiously hopeful about the future?
You're putting me on a spot here. I think we all have to be very hopeful, but I think we need to deal with hope just doesn't happen. It's about what we put into it. And I think as business and as industry, it's all about the investment we make, both in terms of human capital, technology, the way we build our businesses. Then we'll get change and we'll get things to happen. But if we just hope that something from the miracle is going to happen and make it, it's not going to happen. And we are a very, very small market in a very global world today. And I've been traveling quite a bit recently and seeing what's going on elsewhere in the world. We've got a long way to go to catch up. And I think the last 10 to 15 years in South Africa has pushed us backwards at a very rapid rate as a country and then as an economy as well. With 0 to 2% growth over the last 5 or 6 years, with inflation sitting at where it's been in this country, we've gone backwards. And to get going forward, we need to get 3, 5, 7% growth. India's running its 8% sustainable economic growth at the moment, and it's just leapfrogging us and all those countries. And if we want to show growth in Africa, we're going to have to get that growth. Africa is the only continent, maybe other than South America, it's going to show population growth. But you can't have population growth and zero economic growth, because it just leads to more people having less, the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. And it's going to have a large negative impact. And so we see it in South Africa with the influx of economic migrants coming south, with unemployment, lack of jobs, lack of economic growth. And without the investment in knowledge and technology, we can't keep up. And that's the message that I'm seeing.
But I think if we look at the India case, they're doing a lot of things right. somehow they're able to differentiate between what government does and what businesses do, and it's a hungry economy with a lot of people. And I look now at the government of national unity, and I'm wondering if, and this is a discussion that we're going to have a little bit later on. Zinhle, the CEO, is going to be hosting it as well with Business Panel, but how does government need to rethink how it engages businesses and how it delivers what it needs to deliver and lets go of what it does not need to deliver? And I might be planting a question for you, but India is not delivering for citizens. Citizens are delivering for citizens. And I believe that that's a model that really works. Are we having to relook at the way in which we define our democracy, especially with GNU? And again, I'm putting you in a spot, but we want to know what we believe are the right things to do, and perhaps understand when those things don't happen, what the implications are.
Well, I was in India about 2-3 weeks ago, and I was absolutely blown away. I hadn't been there since before COVID, and how that country has developed. What I found most fascinating was that they are opening 27 kilometers of new highway every day in India. And they're doing 11 kilometers of electrified railway a day. But it's being done through a different philosophy. In South Africa, we try to use a centralized approach to everything, and government wants to manage the entire process. The way I understand it seems to be working in India. Now, India is a very complex country with many states, all of which do things separately and individually. But the broad principle seems to be that central government manages policy. That's where we're going to go. That's a direction. The state government and the local authorities manage delivery, and they don't do the delivery. No government in India actually delivers anything. They've outsourced it all to private enterprise. And so how do they build 27 kilometers a day? Instead of giving one contract for, let's say, 200 kilometers of road, they'll do 20 people at 10 kilometers each. And the local authority manages the sand, the cement, or everything, and they make sure that the job's being done properly, so that 200 gets finished at the same time. And it's just a different way of thinking. And we are caught in a centralized model in South Africa. And if we want to get something to happen, we need to break that centralized model and allow private enterprise to do things, but under the control of the government and within the policy frameworks. And I think that way will break a lot of the infrastructure. But India does have a problem. They're fixing their hardware, as they call it, but their software is a problem. So 10% of the population's got huge, huge wealth and doing all the development. The next 30% is supporting them, but 60% is not. And that 60% is still pretty close to 1 billion people who are sitting below the bottom end of the pyramid, and their challenge is to get that up. And how do they do that? And there's a number of interesting things that they're doing to try and fix that software problem.
And it's interesting, we look at India, but I know that from South African perspective, we've looked at China quite a lot and how they've lifted the poorest of the poor out of poverty and lifted them up. But let's come back home. Let's look at retailers. Everybody sitting here around the room. What is it that is within our power to impact our communities positively and the people around us? Every single one of us touches a few people every single day at work. How do we start to think about ourselves and the role we play as citizens for a better South Africa?
I think a really big issue for us is to be part of the communities in which we operate. I think that, to me, is one of the key parts of retail. We've always defined it in Pick n Pay as doing good is good business, or enlightened self-interest, no matter what you want to call it. But if you think about it, we have a power, not only retailers, but all of us in our small and large businesses around where we operate. We can look after the litter, so we can make sure the areas around us are clean. The companies that we deal with, that they're cleaning up. We can look after the water. We can make sure that we've got water by either putting our own water systems down or working with local authorities to fix it. We can work on getting the sewage right and fixing the potholes. Now, potholes to me is probably one of the most important, because if you don't fix the potholes, you can't get the trucks in. If you don't fix the water, you obviously can't run your businesses. You know, you look at it in a Sando, for example, where you've got the water pipes and the sewage pipes, which were put down 60, 70 years ago, they're all rusting. And you're getting sewage going into the water. Now the businesses there are having to invest heavily in water purification when they should be getting clean water and and sewage going straight out. These are things that we as business need to be doing and finding ways to fix. And if we just focus on those 4 areas, if you think about it, if you don't have water and you have a fire, you're probably not covered for insurance. I don't know how many of you have thought about that, but it's a very, very critical issue. And I think those are just simple things that I think we as Consumer Goods Council are busy working on. But on top of that, is to utilize technology. There's a lot of talk about AI. There's a lot of talk about all the stuff that's going around. But we've all got technology, and as Consumer Goods Council, no. Patricia, there's no barcode on this. Where are you? But you look on every product and there's a barcode. And the huge work and development around barcodes and the technology that's happening around it is going to help retailers, is going to help consumers be so much more intelligent in the future. And CGC, through the GS1, is in the forefront and is actually running it. And Michelle tells me that she's now going to be running something that's going to help sighted and unsighted people by making barcodes and products. People can actually look at something and their phone will talk to them and tell them what it is. It's going to happen. If it's not going to happen, I want to know why. But the point is, if we don't do these sort of things and move ahead, we're going to get disintermediated. Just the final point on this one, coming back to India. India's always had a policy of no multi-brand retailing for foreign ownership. So no big supermarket chains have really been able to develop. That's not a problem in India. They've always had the system called the go-down, which was the local guy on the bicycle delivered to what you want. They've got something like 70 million small shops. And so there are no supermarkets now, but their on-demand system is 10 minutes. You pick up your phone, you order, 10 minutes later they deliver. How do they do it? They've got dark stores, they've got relationships between the dark stores and the 70 million small retailers, and you can get your goods in 10 minutes. Unbelievable. Now, I'm petrified. What would it do to our business if somebody managed to get that going here? And these are the technology and the way we've got to think going forward.
And I think there's 2 questions that I need to ask us before we finish. Every year we talk about the things that retailers do, but somehow we're not met halfway by the municipalities and government that needs to actually be responsible for the potholes, for the water. Have you made progress in building those partnerships where there's a give and take mechanism and municipalities and local governance is really coming to the party? You've had a lot of time to do this. I mean, it's 2 years.
Short answer?
We've been talking about it for a while.
Short answer is no.
No.
I think government is, under GNU, is starting. You're seeing a little bit of things happening in Home Affairs and a couple of others. But the mindset in government is still a centralized, we need to do it all approach. It's not solving the problems. You look at NHI, for example. NHI as a country needs. But the way it's being proposed is this big government system, like in the UK or one of those, when if they just said to the healthcare companies, this is the policy, this is what we want, we'll pay you, you just deliver it. I'm sure it'll happen. But that mindset hasn't changed yet, and that's what we've got to see happen in this country.
And can you imagine the way they run the way government, our government, I'm owning it, runs the current hospitals, and you think, what is the model that is allowing them to think that scale, again, in their own hands is actually feasible? But under GNU, again, does that mean that perhaps in a 10-year cycle, we would see a change of mindset?
Well, you asked me yesterday, and I said, I'll tell you in a year's time. But I think the point is it's early days.
We're going to hold you to it.
But I think you've just got to look at it. And, we do, as with CGC, we are part of BUSA, and we're very involved with a lot of these initiatives that are going on. And the question's asked, why haven't we had load shedding now for 6 months? And a lot of it is because business got their hands around it, working with Eskom and working with government, and have made it happen. And it's now starting to happen in crime, it's happening in logistics, it's happening in lots of those areas. So where government is recognizing that we can add value as business, things are starting to happen. But where they're closing off and trying to do it all themselves, we're not seeing the approach. And that's, I think, the message that we'd like to get across.
And I think we'll be tracking that. We've got a lot of speakers coming up later in the day, and they're going to really paint the picture for you from a strategy point of view. How do we feel things are going for the country? But it comes down to leadership. It comes down to the more senior leadership of the country. It comes down to the leadership of the national government, but it also comes down to leadership in corporate. But it's been tough. It's tough to make those leadership decisions. And you have been in a position where you've had to make some really big decisions in the last year. How has that gone? And what is your reflection now on the importance of leadership and sometimes the courage required to make some really tough decisions?
Yeah, I must say, this has probably been the most difficult year I've ever had in my business career, and trying to, the problems that we had in the whole Pick and Pay group, to get it back. And, you know, I'm happy with the way things are turning around and the putting in of a new leadership team. And the big lessons for me, there are a couple of lessons. One is, local is often the best. I think that's been the one message that I've had. You know, people who understand the business, understand the culture, and understand the environment. The second thing is, don't get rid of experience. You need to keep experience. You need to balance the young with the old and bring the old people in, but keep the young people and grow them. Because succession doesn't happen from outside. If you want to get succession to happen, you've got to grow your own succession. And I think that, to me, has been a very, very big learning over the last couple of years. And we need to make sure, we've needed to make sure that we've totally relooked our business and rethought the way we do things. And there are no such things as sacred cows. You've got to get rid of every sacred cow and say, what is right? And what is our long-term vision? And it's not about looking at the past. It's saying, what do we want to be? And how do we work to get there? Rather than, this is what we were. And how do we stay where we were? And I think that's a lot of the problems that we've had, is we look too much in the rearview mirror. And we try to look in the forward, and we didn't necessarily have the right people doing the right jobs to get there. And I think we've made those changes now, and we've seen dramatic changes already starting to happen. But it's the start of a very long journey.
And I think if that's what we take away from, this conversation, is imagine building a business for the next 100 years or the next 120 years, but you're making those decisions today. And that's what your father did. And now you're sitting in that same situation. You're saying there's still another 100 years ahead. And today's decisions are what will carry us through. That is big. It's far bigger than making the decision for 6 months, 1 year, or 3-year strategies. But thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable and standing in the place of many today.
Thank you. Thank you a lot, Zanelli, and good luck for the rest of the day.
Thank you so
Enjoy
much.
it.
Please let's give him a round of applause. Well, we've started our program, and that was just the beginning, a highlight of what's to come. But I'd love to introduce the next panel discussion and conversation. It's being led by Zinhle Tikwe, the Chief Executive Officer for CGCSA. Zinhle has been a breath of fresh air, engaging with her on a regular basis, and her depth of understanding and passion for what the industry needs. And so many segments of the industry, be it the barcoding of every single product, be it the foundation that has been started, be it also the importance of understanding recycling and environmental issues and global goals. So it's a huge role that she has, and she holds all of it with such grace. Zinhle, thank you so much for joining us. Joining Zinhle on stage, let's give her a round of applause. Well done, Zinhle. Thank you. Now, up on stage, a round of applause for Busima Vuso. She is the Chief Executive Officer for Business Leadership South Africa. And a lot of really insightful, no fear-based conversations about what this country needs to be doing, what we're doing right, and where we are completely missing it. So we welcome you on stage today, spending your time again immersing yourself in the relationship between business and corporates in South Africa. It's going to be worth watching. Nicole Roos, the Managing Director of East and Southern Africa region for Nestle, please on stage. Thank you so much. Let's give her a round of applause. Nicole. Thanks, Samuel. the epitome of transformation and what it means to not only transform individuals' lives, but to transform businesses and to transform society. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us. If I could have somebody come and remove the table and get you ready, Zinhle, to have the conversation.
Chichi as well. Chichi.
Oh, sorry. This is Chichi Maponya. There she is. Okay. Let's give her a round of applause. Chichi is the Chief Executive Officer for the Maponya Group. How did they get a legend like you? I have done many panels. She never comes.
You move there.
Gets invited and is unavailable. So right here, the best talent you would find to have this conversation. Zinhle, thank you so much. A powerful, what? Power of the past, force for the future. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zanele, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to our annual summit. This is one great organization that I work for, led by great individuals, and we have a powerful woman here. So the team, when I said I wanted power in women, this is it. There's nothing else in South Africa but this here. So please clap hands for us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Busi. Thank you so much, Nicole and Chichi as well. So the reason that she came, because of me.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that. So I will open later, towards maybe in the last 5 minutes, for question and answers. Please be ready, because you're never going to get this chance ever again in your life, having Sis Busi here. I'll start with all of you. I've got a question for all of you to look back in your careers. What has been the biggest lesson that when you look back and say, this was a turning point for me that has transformed me to be who I am today? I'll start with you, Sis Chichi.
Thank you very much, Zinhle, and thank you all for being part of this conversation, and to my fellow panelists. I think for me, coming from a family business background, and always being in a supposedly protected space, not really, not protected, but the perception is that you're in a protected space. And having to want to make a change and prove that I'm not in the cocoon, and getting to get the trust and confidence of my parents and of the public, as it were. I decided, after being married, having 2 kids, having worked on radio, on TV, PRO of Black Like Me at the time, I decided to walk away from all of it. From 3 jobs, from a protected environment, I said, I'm going back to school, because at this point in my life, if I need to make a change, a trajectory change, I need to skill myself, empower myself, and build my inner self-confidence. And I think for me, that was where the big change came, you know, and coming back and having had to work in asset management, in a financial services company, in infrastructure, in telecoms, and going back home and saying to Dad, I've earned it. Now let's work. And, you know, and that's where, you know, some of the changes came.
Thank you so much for that. I mean, that's a powerful one. Thank you, Nicole. You run a multinational company. Tell us about it.
Yeah, firstly, I'd just love to acknowledge the audience today, but more importantly, these 2 incredible women that I get to sit alongside. So thank you for this opportunity. I think lessons, you know, one is not even realizing that you are gaining the lessons as you're moving through life's chapters. And I think the topic for this conference, so relevant, is that as you're growing and learning, those are becoming tools in your toolkit. And so firstly, I think my most valued learning is that career development is so intentional. Exactly what you were saying is that it doesn't just happen, you're driving it, you're owning it. And the second, I guess, most reflective lesson looking back is that our journeys are done collectively. We've always had incredible people around us affording us the opportunities that we had today, whether it was in mentors, whether it was in family members, whether it was in incredible companies, supporting female development, supporting youth development, supporting gender advancement. These are things that are really done collectively. And then my final learning, Zinhle, would really be about natural curiosity. And this is unfortunately a skill that in business I'm finding less of, and I'm really trying to be intentional about nurturing, is that we're building up our youth development to become naturally curious. Because as you said, that's exactly how we're gaining new skills. We're asking the right questions. And if we're going to be a force for the future, we're asking those questions now to be able to have impact on the future direction of our companies, our countries, and the businesses in which we lead.
Thank you very much for that, Nicole. I think natural curiosity, it's one skill that we all need to really embed in ourselves. Busi, your thoughts?
Yeah. So thanks. Thank you so much, Zinhle, and good morning, everyone. So I think the most valuable lesson that I've learned along the way, for me, was the importance of being decisive, the importance of taking a side, the importance of standing for something, the importance of being courageous even when you are critical inside about the decision that you are making. You go ahead and you make it anyway. I've learned over the years that you become courageous by being courageous. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is about being scared, but going ahead and doing it anyway. I've learned that your failure as a leader or as a person generally to make a decision is probably maybe the worst than a wrong decision. So you'll rather make a wrong decision and course correct if you have to, because indecision leaves people in limbo. You can imagine in terms of where we find ourselves at the moment. When you are not making a decision, a lot of people are actually paralyzed, to say, which direction are we going? So rather choose a side and make a wrong decision, and that you can always, come back. Someone once said, I'll rather have a leader that is strong and wrong than a leader that is weak and right. Because when you really think about it, there is no space for weakness in leadership. They say when the general is in the trenches, then the battle is lost. So there is, therefore, that need and that requirement from a leadership perspective that you always have to lift your head, above everyone else and see what's coming around the corner, because that is actually what is important, for leadership, as it were. So being decisive, I think, has been really the most important decision that I've learned.
Thank you. I think that one was one powerful one. And just to follow up on that, this was a question I was going to ask you later on, Busi, but what you just spoken about. Currently, you are, in my view, the face of hope for business, because you sit with the government, with the presidency, representing business for South Africa, for the GNU, and you are a hope as business. So what does it feel like? What does it take to carry this hope on your shoulders and exactly do what you just said? Be courageous, be decisive, be headstrong. On top of that, you're a woman. On top of that, you're a black woman. What does it take to do that? And again, and second part to that question is there hope, really? You meeting with government, you sitting on the business side, you're sitting with the presidency. We have a lot of challenges. Gareth and Zanele have already spoken to it. Is there real hope? Is there a real direction to say we are moving, might be small steps, but we are moving in the right direction?
What does it take to do what I do? So first of all, I'm a leader. I'm not a female leader. I'm not a black African leader. I'm a leader, period. So those who look at me and choose to see a black African women leader, that is their problem. Leadership is leadership. It's not about gender. It's not about race. It's really about excellence, right? And excellence has no race and it has no gender. It's got no face, right? So it's a simple function of whether you know what you're doing or not, whether you are good at what you're doing or not, whether you understand the stuff of leadership or not. And for me, leadership is about three things and three things only. You know, it's about having a vision, it is about being ethical, and it is about being courageous. You cannot be a leader when you lack those three things, you know? So I guess when we sit in front of government, you know, which we often do, you know, Gareth and I sit together at the BUSA board, and we often have to actually talk about these things and make decisions. We are very clear from where we sit as the business community in terms of what needs to be done. You see, where we find ourselves at the moment as a country, Zinhle, there is no space for diplomacy. You know, if this country is going to succeed, it is because business is making it succeed. Gareth just now spoke about the fact that we are today sitting at 196 days without load shedding because business dared to intervene. So there has to be that realization that you don't have a capable state as South Africa. Government doesn't have the knowledge, they don't have the resources, they don't have the expertise, they don't have the capacity. It is incumbent on business to ensure, you know, that we actually provide those things. So if we are going to sit around the table alongside government and think that our role is to hug and sing kumbaya, this country is going to be another failed African state. We are going to be another failed African state, and we cannot. You know, South Africa is very strategic for the African continent. If the African continent is going to succeed, South Africa needs to succeed. So when we walk into these engagements, with precisely that knowledge, that we know that the engagements and the decisions that we actually have to make are not about Gareth and Busi and Adrian Go and Kes and whatever the case is. It is about ensuring that this country needs to turn the corner. You know, it's about ensuring that the economic trajectory of this country has to change. It is about the 65 million South Africans. It is about the 43% unemployment in terms of the expanded definition. It's about the 65% youth unemployment, which is the biggest risk that we actually have as a country. So I really go into those engagements precisely with that. It's not a popularity contest. I'm not there to be liked.
Thank you, Busi. Thank you. I mean, that is one powerful thing, and it leads to my question for you, Nicole, to say, as CGCSA, we have a number of multinationals that have been in this country for more than 100 years, and Nestle is one of those. And some of my members who are multinational, they say that they still feel South Africa is not recognizing them as South African multinational businesses. What's your take on that? Because, I mean, exactly what Busi is saying, we need to take ownership of our challenges, and organizations like yourself have been seen through all the different changes in this country and have been in communities and working in communities, creating employment for South Africans. Within Nestle, do you still feel like you are not recognized as a South African multinational in a sense because you have been here for more than 100 years? I'm not sure if there's anyone here who's 100 years because Nestle has been here since 1915. So all our forefathers, my father worked for Nestle, so I have a very soft spot for that country.
Yeah, I know your dad worked in Escort, a very special place. So I think firstly to take a step back, although we're the biggest food company in the world, we are still very local. So do we feel South African in our blood? Absolutely. Although we are headquartered here, we looked after 23 Southern African countries, and we are privileged in that we are afforded a lot of local responsibility. Now, I want to just pick up on an earlier point, and I think for us, you know, going at it as a multinational on our own is extremely short-sighted. And I think the sooner that we can find a lot more collaboration in our association, for example, our affiliations with the Consumer Goods Council, the way we're working with Business Leadership South Africa, that is how you embed yourself in the culture of the country. And when we are in tune with the culture of our country, that is how we are creating the force for the future, because we are giving back in terms of purpose-led leadership. We believe in enhancing today's generation, but more importantly, future generations. And that's why we stay. That's why we put down such deep roots. And then finally, I think with a deep knowledge of culture, our work actually becomes quite easy. And our work is at the moment really centered around this audience. It's about job creation. It's about youth empowerment. It's about employability. It's about diversity and driving inclusion in the workforce. And I think the more that we're committed to that, do we feel local? Do we feel grounded in Africa? Absolutely. And are we committed to the future of our country, as you said? Yeah. At the moment, even more hopeful than we were in the last year, building on Gareth's opening comments. Absolutely, yes, but that requires intentional leadership and very purposeful leadership.
Thank you about that. This is Chichi. Maponya Group took a courageous decision to go into a township and build a mall in the township to build a township economy. What would you say to the communities for them to welcome these investments by big business? And what would you say to big business to say they must know when they're going into the township and create those opportunities? Because sometimes you'll find there's that conflict to say they're coming to take over in our small spaza shops. I'm talking from a retailing perspective, but what do business need to know when they're going into the township, and what do the communities in the township need to do or be aware of from an investment perspective?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Zintle. I think I want to first pick up on the point that Busi made so passionately and differ somewhat slightly. I don't think we have a failed state. I think the state has challenges. Government has got serious challenges, but I would not dare go that far and say we have a failed state. Gareth made the point about the equality gap. The poorest of the poor are in South Africa, and we have wealth in South Africa. So up until, before I make that point, so for somebody who is in a rural area, who now has access to water, to lights, to life, to opportunities, to hope, they don't see the failed state that we see. And it behoves all of us to make sure that as we engage in business, we don't leave anybody behind. If we do not close this gap of poverty and really lift everybody above the poverty line, we in our sector of retail are really going to be failing. And government would have failed, and business would have failed, so it takes all of us to make this happen. And moving to Maponya Mall as a catalyst for hope, for investment, for jobs, for entrepreneurship, and these are businesses locally that have been empowered and gained from an investment such as Maponya Mall. And one thing that we often miss to talk about is the quality of life that has improved as a result of businesses within the townships. Let us take our businesses to the people because we are improving their quality of life. About 2,000 people that are working at Maponya Mall don't have to wake up at 4 a.m. to catch a bus, a taxi, to get to work and have the same route back again and be home by 8, and they don't see their children until the weekend. So the kids have no parent during the day, and then we say the society is what it is. Now there is leadership. Those families, those mothers, those fathers can wake up at a decent time and get to work and be still part of the community, not only at weekends or at odd hours, but they are active in the community, in their families. And that is an impact that we often miss about the quality of life of the people that we engage with, be it employees, be it a customer base. But, you know, and if we don't put people at the center and the core of it, we are operating for profit and not for impact, you know. Yes, businesses survive to make money, but above the profit line, there's an impact. What significant impact are you doing? So by being in the townships, in the communities, you are encouraging other entrepreneurs to come into this ecosystem that you have created to also benefit, whether it's being supplying of products into one of the shops, it's being a service provider, electrical or cleaning or whatever, you know, but you are engaging with the community, you are listening to them, you are providing them a service, but you are also actively involved in the activities of the community. So you are part of the community. You are the community. It's not us and them. And I think for me, and what Maponya Mall did was really become that catalyst. And as a result, we saw a lot of other investment, which has created jobs, very much needed jobs in the townships.
Can I please just quickly come in on one important point that Chichi has just made around the responsibility of business, and I absolutely agree. You know, business is the only social partner with disproportionate resources in this country, and therefore it places a lot of responsibility on us, you know, to show up, you know, in a meaningful way to ensure that South African citizens benefit. Yes, business has a responsibility. Government has even a bigger responsibility. You see, we've got 4 social partners. You've got government, you've got business, you've got labor, you've got civil society. Out of these 4, there has to be an adult in the room. Government has to be the adult in the room. And government has been failing. No, they have been failing in their responsibility of being the adult in the room. You know, the difference between good, prosperous states and bad, failing states is government. When governance fails at government level, countries fail. And the reason why South Africa has been for the past 15 years posting economic growth of less than 1%, it's because our government has been failing. You know, so there has to be a recognition that they actually have to fix themselves at that level. Business can continue to provide the support, but we cannot continue to do what we're doing perpetually. It has to be a means to an end and not an end in itself. If you're going to have a country where the network industries are failing, where energy is dysfunctional, where transport and logistics are dysfunctional, where water is an issue, how do you even get foreign direct investment into the country? How do you even, you know, try and convince, you know, Nestle? How does Nicole take a proposition to Switzerland to say that let's put more investment into South Africa when South Africa is failing at the basics? And why are we failing at the basics? Because government is failing. So there has to be that recognition. Yes, we are not a failed state, but we are going to be another failed African state if these basics are not fixed.
Definitely. Thank you for that clap. And it's definitely leading to my question about the social partners, especially Garrett mentioned earlier on that we sit at NEDLEC through BUSA. There's 4 social partners. There's labor, communities, business, as well as government. Each and every one of them have a responsibility. And how do we make sure to not, like I have to think about the COSATU strike that you just had on Monday, to say, how do we then go on a strike as one of the social partner, when you know and you are aware of the challenges that you are talking about at NEDLEC? Where is your responsibility? When as business you're saying, well, this is what we need to do structurally to make sure that this country work. Labor, you have a responsibility of making sure people come to work, making sure people are productive. I mean, how do we make sure that structures like NEDLEC are working for the purpose that they were set up for? Busi.
And it's not really a function of ensuring that the structure works. It's a function of ensuring that each and every social partner understands their responsibility. Labor thinks that their job is to sit there and be principals in the room and put a red mark on what business is doing wrong and on what government is doing wrong. Civil society think that when they are pissed off, they can go out and burn buildings, and then you sit around. They then become, disadvantaged when they've burnt the malls, and they don't have jobs and they have to take taxis to, access some of the services. So I think that is the conversation that we actually have to have. When I was looking at the strike on Monday, Kosatu says, we are marching because of economic growth, because of GNU, because of unemployment, because of... They have to answer the question of what is their responsibility in this mess? Labor cannot continue to demand 10% increases in an economy that has not been growing by more than 1%. Where inflation, these are supposed to be cost of living adjustments that business needs to give to employees on a year-to-year basis. Inflation at the moment is about 4.4%. When the economy is not growing, where the hell do you think you're going to get 10? And who's getting a 10% increase anyway? So I really think that the big part of the problem is that you've got social partners who don't understand their responsibility. And government in this case, because it's a tripartite alliance, they are failing to actually call labor to order to say that what you're doing, South Africa at the moment, when you look at the labor costs, compared to other countries, we have the highest labor costs, we have the most difficult labor regulatory environment, and the productivity is not what it should be. So that is the conversation that labor should be actually having, and that is what they should actually be bringing to the table in terms of how they are going to help this economy, business and government to ensure that we can prosper.
Thank you for that. Thank you. We're going to get this anywhere else but in our summit, guys. So next year, register. Nicole, tell us, remind us why I think personally we have the best country in the world. And you have been in a lot of countries. Worked in a lot of regions through Nestle. Remind us, as South Africans, why should we really be proud of this country with all the challenges that we have? Because sometimes we go out there and we still speak badly about our country. Can't you just remind us why we should be ambassadors, even though we're not being paid to be ambassadors?
It's talent.
Absolutely.
It's talent. And I think that's, coming back to the opening comment, I think firstly we must just acknowledge our chairs. Normally we attend these kind of events and we finish with people and talent and diversity and inclusion. Look what's happening today. We're starting with this conversation.
Yeah.
And that for me is the answer. I think what makes this country and our continent simply incredible is our people. What I'm extremely excited about is the culmination now of diversity in the boardroom. I think we're starting to see the benefits of diversification of thought, a lot of really challenging conversations, courageous conversations that are starting to come to the fore. So am I a glass half full person on my country and my continent? More than, and of late, even more so. So I think we really are believers, and I think just to come back to Busi's point, I think we all have our role to play. I think as big business, our role is about being intentional, and you said it earlier, it's beyond profit, it's purpose-led work, it's finding the balance between purpose and profit, and really giving back to skills development and taking our talent forward. And I just also wanted to leave with the audience that that's you. It's not CEOs that can do this work. It is every individual in our beautiful industry, in electronics, in consumables, in FMCG, in retail. Who are you coaching? Who are you developing? Yeah. Can you name today, by name, who you are taking on your personal development journey? As we said, these careers are intentional. They take growth and development. So very optimistic, actually. And yes, we have to fight hard to bring in the foreign direct investment, and with our partners, of course, create environments where we can do that. But I think many of our principals, and I speak on behalf of the board, are convinced because of the talent that sits in this country. And that's how we will, see out our vision of today's conference, is that is how we will create the future power, is because of the talent that's sitting in this country.
Thank you for that. That's key. I think for us as well, we work with partners such as WR CETA, and it's one of our most supportive CETA for us. From a sector, we are getting to the other CETAs as well, because skills development.
Exactly.
Learning, leadership, it's really the underpinning of all of this. So, Chichi, what are the opportunities that are there that we really need to unpack and invest on? Whether it could be skills development, economic growth. What do you see in your space?
I think I'm a very people-centered person. And I think also in my leadership style, it's about the people. I have a vision. I cannot achieve it alone. I know what I know what I don't know. And what I don't know, I know what skills I need around me for us to achieve the objective. So it's really just harnessing that and developing that skill and being people-centered and not leaving everybody behind. I mean, I say this over and over again, but for everybody to come in, I think it's critical and important. In terms of where the opportunities are for the country, for business, I think retail is here to stay. It's how we then build within the value chain opportunities for new entrants, opportunities for other businesses. You know, Gareth made an example of India, the big supermarkets, but they've incorporated the moms and pop shops to do the local drop-off. What innovative ways do we have that we can look at where we really bring other people within this ecosystem? And I think the foundation, CGC Foundation, is trying to do that with the food gardens. We are saying, have a food garden. It's about food, it's food security, but it's also about the access. How can we then, through our members, incorporate that where our members, the big retailers, are getting their supplies from the locals? I think we need to hone in on those type of opportunities and really be genuine and sincere about them, and know that we coexist. Business and these communities and the business and the smaller businesses, the SMMEs, if they are incorporated into the ecosystem in a genuine, very authentic way, I think we will all succeed. All of us will grow. There will not be cannibalization. It's just growth for everybody and impact for everybody. And I think for me, that's where I would really like us to develop and grow further.
Thank you. I'm going to open up for questions. I'm going to take like 3 questions. The clock has just disappeared. Maybe I'll take 2 this side. 1, 2, 2. Okay, I'll take 6. Let's be fast. Where's the? While we're on that, I think the rationale of why we had this panel was to showcase the work that, as a country, we are doing. That might not have been really visible for everyone to see. So I just wanted to give hope to South Africans, to give hope to the industry, to say industry associations are really working hard for your organization to strive and be able to continue doing what you are doing to create employment and opportunities, and skills development is really key. So that's why we had these discussions, and it's important that I want you guys to participate in it. Yes, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Terence Liduma. I work for a company called Makamisa Foods. What an amazing list of panelists we're having now. Wow. And I just realized it's only ladies. So we're doing well as a country, honestly. I think mine is to talk to a couple of points that have been discussed, particularly by Sis Chichi. This country will never go anywhere without being inclusive. Some of us we are in the game we are on the ground. The economy is still racialized. It's a fact. We need to honestly, one day, because that moment will come whereby we'll miss the opportunity to have paid attention to humanity as opposed to what you are busy doing, focusing on profits. It should be about impact, and our people are waiting for that impact to happen, and they've been very patient. Otherwise, you're going to end up seeing what we saw a couple of months in Kenya, whereby government is failing and then the private sector is doing their own thing, moving in their own direction just for profit. Let us prioritize humanity more than profit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that was a comment. Yes?
All right, my name is Rufaro Mpofu, representing Tiger Brands. Thank you very much. This was such an impactful session that we just had. Thank you to the ladies. The topic, Power of the Past, Force of Future, is a very, very profound topic. If you look at our South Africa and other African continents, I think we've done it in the past. It was beautiful in the past. You look at things like farming, you look at things like the efficiency that was there in the ports, in the transport systems and all. And my question is, with such a topic, how do we leverage on the past? Because it's been done before. How do we leverage on the past such that we take those actions from the past and use them for the future?
Love to take that one.
I was supposed to say, Nicole, take that question. Thank you.
Just love that I share your energy and the passion on the topic, so fully agree with your comment there. If you look at our future and the continent and our role and responsibility to feed, the amount of humans that will populate this continent today and in the future, fully share your passion point that it's on farming, but more importantly, it's on sustainable agriculture. I think we're going to be privileged today to also have one of our speaking panelists and our groups speak to us a bit about keeping what we've learned, but more importantly, taking youth development, digitalization, skills development, sustaining farming, regenerative farming, and really taking it into the future. So look forward to a later group. Love to connect with you after that as well to see, are we doing enough? A final part that I would just bring together is the prior speaker's comment is that the role of inclusion and diversity in sustainable farming. So where are our women? We, for example, are supporting a program called Farming in Heels. Where are our young female talent learning the history of farming practices in our country, putting forward sustainable agriculture, and most importantly, bringing the difference? Can they do it differently? Are they seeing innovative and focused ideas for us to do, things we might have thought worked well, but maybe differently? Different water impact, different climate impact. And look at how big business is struggling to deal with some of those problems. Look today at our coffee challenges, look at cocoa challenges, look at the impact of climate change on business. So we will not be exempt of that as Africa. In fact, we're probably going to feel the biggest burden. And I fully agree with your passion point that this is going to be an exciting space and probably a space where we could do more to prepare young talent to have an impact long term for our continent. And again, we take that role very seriously.
Thank you, Nicole. Yes.
Morning, people. Rian Lideman. Busi, I'm still waiting for the support of BLS.
Excuse me?
Thank you.
Sorry,
Through you, I'm here.
we can't hear you.
The mic.
My company,
The mic.
my name.
Put it to the mouth.
Can someone help you?
I was a high school principal, I don't need a mic. Leon Lideman. They say Willie Madisha, when he met me in the 90s, he said, he thought I was white until I opened my mouth. This conference should actually have been termed the death of the supermarket. Through SA, flies have throwing me off the flight. I had to pay in 300 Rand. By the end of next year, that 300 Rand will give me a 3,330,000 return. And by the end of next year, I will have a consumer goods company, 120 billion Rand a year turnover.
Congratulations.
No factories in that, creating income for 100,000 people. The first black entrepreneur I have still got the most respect, is Sam Wachonyana. The first white entrepreneur I had the most respect is that man's father that I met 4 times. And I didn't meet you by chance, I think that was God given. The next mad entrepreneur is going to be Leon Liederman. Thank you.
Thank you. And congratulations, Leon. We're looking forward to bring you as a member.
The lady that wanted to write a book about me says he comes into the room and he disturbs the peace.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Malisa Lamtinjani, Mary U Nutri-Sciences.
Daisy there. Yes, go ahead.
You talked about an inclusive economy, right? And we always hear from business and from government that it's been so many days without load reduction, whereas we've implemented something, and we talked about an inclusive economy, but we've implemented a phenomenon which is unfair in the marginalized communities, load reduction, which also impacts on the economy of those local organizations. I just want to understand, what is your stance on that when you are in these platforms with government and business? How do you reconcile implementing something? Even the Minister of Electricity said it was an unfair practice, and we have the competition, not the Competition Commission, but the Consumer Commission, which also protects consumers, but on the other hand, we have government which implements unfair and unnecessary phenomena. So can you just weigh in on that as well?
So, you know, the issue of load reduction is a very interesting one. So there's no load shedding in the country, but we do have load reduction. And the reason why we have load reduction is because of the infrastructure in certain municipalities not coping. Now, Soweto is supposed, on paper, has got 2 million citizens, or it's got a population of 2 million, about,
Yes,
Sis
on paper.
on paper, right? But in reality, because of our porous borders, because of the failure of this government to control, you can't plan when you don't even know. On paper, we are 65 million people. But who knows? We're probably 80 million people in South Africa. That's why our clinics, our schools, because you just don't know how many people. So, a city of Joburg, for instance, is allocated a certain number of megawatts to provide for the 2 million people of Soweto. But if Soweto no longer has 2 million, it's got 6 million, they have to implement load reduction because of the pressure on the grid, because this, let me pick a number, 10 gigawatts of electricity that is supposed to supply Soweto, you know, is actually not sufficient to cover the 6 million people, because the 10 gigawatts is supposed to be for 2 million people. So if the grid is under severe pressure like that, if you are not going to therefore apply load reduction, the grid is going to collapse. So to prevent the grid from collapsing, you therefore have to implement load reduction. But when you talk about the issue of Soweto as well and townships, you have to pay for the services that you are getting. It cannot be, it can't. And I know the problem is in 1994, we said free education, we said free housing, we had free. We can't be a welfare state as a country. So you cannot be getting services that you are actually not paying for. And that is actually a fundamental problem. But it's not so much an issue of not paying, it's an issue of the fact that you've got a capacity to actually provide electricity for X number of people, and yet you are sitting with 3 times that number. And to prevent the grid from collapsing, you actually have to implement a load reduction. So it's an infrastructure issue that we actually have to face.
Thank you, Busi. This is going to be the last question. Last 2. There's a gentleman who was here before you, then it's going to be you. Yes. Go ahead, gentleman in blue. Okay, you're scared to ask your question. Go ahead.
Let me ask the question. He's a little bit scared of all the female on the stage. Can we please give Busi a golden buzzer
I love it.
Sis Busi, can I please have 3 minutes of free time with you after this? But I've got one question for you. If you can make one change today, only one change, and you've got the power to make any change in the food industry, what will you change to support a resilient, sustainable food chain in Africa, not just South Africa? One thing, only one thing. You're a leader, you're quick on your feet, you've got lots of passion. What will you change?
Sure.
Only one. I'll jump in quick
Answer
and then
that.
Busi
Nicole
can add
can
as
answer
well.
that.
Yeah,
I think
I
for
really
me,
don't know.
speed. If the red tape and the complexity could just drop, the
Yeah.
intention, the passion is there. I think if we could collectively remove some of that, can you just imagine what we would be doing?
Can I also just comment on that? For me, I think I would increase or rather build the manufacturing capacity. I think there's so much of jobs that could be created through manufacturing, and so much of our local products also that could be developed and can be exported outside.
Definitely, definitely. Last question.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I am Awonke, I am from Kellanova. Unfortunately, my question is also for Busi. You spoke about government not being the adult in the room. So I'd like to understand, what are some of the strategies are you using to make sure that you hold government accountable and ensure that businesses are able to still progress and have an impact? Thank you.
I think, Awonke, it's really what I said earlier on. It's the honest and direct conversations. You know, it's about letting government understand what business needs. At the moment, South Africa doesn't have a conducive trading environment. You know, I normally listen to the annual results presentations that are presented by all CEOs. Gareth Ackerman, they speak about how tough our trading environment is. They speak about the failure of the network industries. I know there are so many things that are failing in South Africa at the moment, but we at least have to fix the basics, because we're sitting here saying we'd like to bring 5 trillion rands investment into the country to be able to grow the economy at the right levels. Now, how do you think you can attract investors and burden them at the same time? What is the business case really for investing in South Africa at the moment when these people have to come in? Because it doesn't matter which industry you're in, you need energy. You need transport logistics. You need water. Those are the basics. Not just in South Africa, in any country. Whether you are a banker, you need those 4 to be operating as they should. Now, if you're going to be sitting with 10 hours load shedding, you know, when we're in stage 6, I spoke to the CEO of VW, and she speaks about how she has had to put a generator of 100 million rands, and whenever there is stage 6 load shedding, she spends 1 million rands a day, and I'm sure for retailers it's even higher, 1 million rands a day on diesel. Can you imagine what tough conversations she has to have with Germany? Because that is where VW is from. When she tries to bring more investment into the country, you know, what business case does Martina Pini have? Because then they will say, so you want X amount of investment in South Africa? What exactly is the situation? And hey, we don't have power, hey. You know, transport and logistics, you have to put things on trucks and whatever the case is. It is a fundamental disaster. So if we have to fix the country, you actually have to fix the basics.
Thank you. This has been an amazing panel. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I think just to add on to Busi's point, I think for me, the trust deficit between government and business, there is no trust. Government thinks business is out here to take us for a ride. Business thinks government is not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And the conversation needs to happen, take emotions out of it, and say, what are the issues that we need to deal with? Don't come with too many things. Let's take 3 at a time.
Yeah.
And let's deal with those. Once we have those covered, what are the next 3? You know, and in that priority, in that order. I think that could, you know, build the trust, and we could start seeing some changes.
And just to add to that, that is why, as big business, we need to organize ourselves. Yes. And exactly to this point, we will get lost in the issues if we are not staying focused. And again, a lot of credit to the work the Consumer Goods Council is doing on our behalf choosing what those important focus areas are, and collectively we speak with a united voice to get the support that we need to do our important work to grow and create jobs. So I would just again encourage that, a lone voice is very difficult. Make sure you're part of the right associations, be part of the right conversations, join the right voices, and again, collectively, we definitely see the glass half full if we continue to do that well. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Nicole has taken my speech about membership of CGCSA as well, maybe BLSA, but you must be a CGCSA first. Thank you so much, ladies. This has been such a powerful session. I really, really appreciate your time. And with that, Sis Chichi is the chairperson of the CGCSA Foundation. Please contribute to our foundation. We're not a humanitarian foundation. We are doing real work with municipalities as well with government, where we're fixing infrastructure. So don't take a picture of me while I've got this in there. So please join us when we're fixing the water infrastructure. We want to fix the road. We want to fix a lot of work that we want to do. And crime and corruption as well. We have AB here there in the corner. He's a policeman for 30 years, so he knows what he's doing. Thank you.
Let's give him a final round of applause. Let's give him a final round of applause. It's still very low. It's still very low, I think. Well, let's move right along. But when I reflect on the ladies and the conversation we had, it takes all sorts to make it happen. It takes that voice that's loud and clear on what is wrong and what needs to get done better. It also takes those who've been doing it for a long time. Nestle has been in this business for many years, and when they speak about food, I think for me the big question is, how do we start to make even those big corporates responsible for the bigger picture and not just their bottom line and their return to their shareholders? And these are continuous conversations we need to ask even within the organizations we exist within. And then you need, Sis Chichi Maponya as well, to talk about how do we get to that stage, to start a business, to build a business, but one day to have a mall that size and one day to have another one and another one. Scale is so critical to many people in this room today who are here because they are in businesses that they need to grow, and it is not easy. Get the questions that you want to ask ready, that serve you and serve your business. And this is really what the summit is also about, is how can I solve for the things that I'm passionate about? So we're not going to really shy away from those conversations. Please bring them in. We are going to welcome them and create space for them after every conversation. And one of the notes that was mentioned was there's a lot of things that are on the table. It feels extremely overwhelming for me every day to listen to all the challenges. And I worry, which one are we forgetting? When I was driving through from KZN to Joburg, and we stopped at one of the garages, I saw busloads of people getting out and buying stuff in the shop. And we left the place in an utter mess. The whole garage, it was filthy. There was, pollution everywhere in the middle of nowhere. I don't know, where is it going to fly to? Who's going to pick it up? How are they going to pick it up? And I've got an 8-year-old who says, "Mom, did you send my letter to the government about the pollution in the streets? Did you tell them that the streets are dirty? Look at this place now. Do they not know how to solve for this, And I said to her, we sent the letter through. I'm still waiting for a response. They're slow because all the children at your school also wrote letters. And all the kids are writing letters. So the government is dealing with a lot of letters from schools. But I realized that the biggest person that I need to teach is her. We have citizens that are responsible for the sustainability of our planet. We have employees that are responsible for the sustainability of our businesses. We've got teachers who are teaching our kids. And it's an overwhelming task, but we have to build a sustainable society. Pointing fingers is one thing, but what is it that we are all doing to ensure that this country is sustainable and we are saving it for future generations? That is the big ask that sits on Matlo Satati's desk. She is the executive for sustainability, and And I think I'm overwhelmed every time I talk to you. I go back home and I know I've got so much that I have to do. But I hope today you'll impart on us a lighter version. And we had the same conversation last year. You know, as much as it's a big ask to keep our planet safe and alive and ready for the next generation, but how do we make a difference today? So please come on stage. You've got a big job, and speak to us of the sustainability of our businesses.
Thank you so much. And our MC said, don't run off the stage this time. The last summit, I ran off the stage. I plan to run off the stage today. So I'm going to make it short and sweet. Sustainability, in most cases, people take it as this massive thing. I usually say when you hear the terms, you feel like you are in a washing machine. Because it's ESG, sustainability, climate change, they keep coming and they keep coming. Let's keep it simple. How many people loved the snowfall last week? A few. I'm glad not many loved it because you understand exactly what it meant. And how many people have got a separator bin where all of our kids, I liked the comment, we need to teach the young ones, have a separator bin on the side to ensure that everyone decants their food in the bin by show of hand. We've got the DFFE here, so we need to impress. Kylan is our new comms manager. We have a lot of work to do. The education needs to get to the people, and in a basic way. If you do not know how much you're wasting in your own kitchen, how do we expect a bigger Pick and Pay, a bigger ShopRite to manage it? But we are saying as the Consumer Goods Council of South Africa, and the message from the CEO was that we are making a call to action. We've got a great initiative which has been funded. We've been selected as the 5 countries that are implementing the Target Measure Act principle from REP in the UK. It is open to members and non-members. How awesome is that? We charge for membership fee. But because we've got the funding globally, it's open to everyone. Please come and play with us. Come and learn. And we've got the DFFE. Surprise has been our biggest champion. We do not want to sit. I was sitting with members yesterday where they were saying, can government, my government colleagues who are here, can we hang 10 on the regulations? They keep coming. So I am pleading, but I'm also pleading with the sector. Let's play in a more voluntary manner so that we can showcase. In my view, there is no better advocacy than the action to showcase that we are doing something. So it's open to everyone. Please come and join and play with us up until 2030. That platform is available. And making it even sweeter, we've got amazing presentations today. We're going to get one from KFC, from Andranel, and we're going to get something amazing. It's going to play right after this. If you do not get inspired by this video, and I'm glad Nicole is here, I watched that video. I was like, this is sustainability defined. If Farmer George does not impress you to start, it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just start. Farmer George is simplification of that. Please enjoy the video and please enjoy a presentation from Andra. And we're also going to have a short presentation from our partners rep in the UK. Let's shape this future sustainably together. I thank you.
Our farm's called Skimmelkrans. It's situated in George, right next to the George Airport. It's a family-operated farm. We've been farming with dairy here since 1921. It's managed by myself. I'm the CEO of the company, and then my 2 partners are my father and my uncle. We farm with dairy. and we farm off pasture. So it's a pasture-based system, mainly of irrigated platform of around about 320 hectares. We're milking at the moment 1,100 cows, which will be going up to around about 1,300 at the end of the year. Interesting question. I don't think the answer is an ordinary answer. So the answer is bottom line. It's all about sustainability. And sustainability means financial sustainability as well. So the way that we've farmed for the last 100 years is just not cutting it anymore. And we had to make changes. We had to adapt. And I think that the biggest shift was more management of the farm that we had to do, and have a mind shift as well, farming with nature rather than against nature. In the past, we were so reliant on external sources of fertilizer, external sources of feed, which cost a lot and made that we didn't make any profit or very little profit, and we had to adapt. And through this whole process, we increased productivity. We produced more with less. So we produced more milk solids, with less fertilizer, less energy, less diesel, and that makes a huge difference on your bottom line. So to answer your question, we had to do something to adapt to survive. That's where we started this project. It was quite a leap of faith though. We still have a brilliant auditing agency, Trace and Save, that we used through this process. And when we started to put everything together, for example, I'm going back to the fertilizer issue, they told us we can do better with much less fertilizer. In the past, we put down a lot of fertilizer, almost 550 units of N per hectare per year. And it was scary when Craig told me you can half that. And at the end of the day, we haven't halved that. We've come down from 550 to 80. And we're getting better production. We're getting better production from the cows, better production from the pastures, but it's quite a mind and management shift. It's all about farming with nature. So in the past, we put down a lot of nitrogen, and we made the pastures reliant on that artificial nitrogen, and not getting the pastures to get the natural nitrogen out of the soil in the natural way. Putting in lucerne, putting in clover that produces nitrogen by itself and which is accessible to the pastures. So it was a big process, starting off to get soil status correct, to get everything as close back to nature as it was, and then the big part is managing it. Soil. Each and every farmer farms the soil. So if you're a chicken farmer, you're farming the soil as well. Of course, the maize that you're putting through your chickens comes from the soil. And it's incredible to see how visually and vastly different our soils have become in the last 4 years. Soil activity, earthworms, soil life. You can feel the soil is looser, it's working, it's alive. And that's because nature's working, and nature is a pretty amazing thing. I can definitely see that things change because of the soil, and it's not just the soil itself, it's soil corrections, getting everything in the soil to function as it has to function. But then once again, with the introduction of multi-species pastures, every species has a different root zone that it functions on. So we are filling up this whole profile of soil with different species and different types of roots, a taproot and an ordinary root system. And that makes the soil alive. And you can see, we had a film crew here and they wanted us to dig a profile out. And they said, it's soily, it's just worms. And that's because of the biological activity in the soil that you can physically see. sustainability means economical sustainability as well. So it's adapt or die. When I get, like you said, organizations, when I get farmers groups on the farm, they all look at bottom line. So the first question after all these beautiful speeches and looking at the worms in the soil and the pastures and the cows, the first question is, when do I get ROI? When will I receive dividends from what I put in? And some of them have implemented it. We were in the fortunate situation that we had backing from Nestlé to implement this project, but it was amazing. I could see the difference in volume of pasture production, quality of pastures produced, and milk production within 3 months. So it's a quick turnaround, but with that, there's a lot of lessons to be learned, and it's not difficult. The biggest part of it is to be hands-on, to go to your pastures and see that every pivot behaves in another way. Some of them have better drainage, some of them have worse drainage, so alfalfa or lucerne won't do well on the one section, but then you have to manage that section so that it operates as it should. Get as much information as you can. Get people to back you in this whole process. Don't be too scared to make drastic decisions. Let nature guide you in this process. When we started off lowering the fertilizer, I could see a visual effect that the pastures were lighter green, not that dark green like we used to. Work with nature, and you'll see that as soon as you don't put down so much nitrogen, the legumes will produce more nitrogen, and that will help the pastures to grow. We've lowered our water usage by a third, and that's huge. It's because the soils are functioning better and the carbon levels in the soil is building, it's getting better. So everything revolves around each other. And then the other thing is try and be as much hands-on as possible. Go out to the pasture, see how it behaves. Try and manage pastures according to which species is performing at that specific time of the year. In the past, we farmed with monoculture ryegrass, and it was beautiful. It's like a lawn, and now we have 6, 7, 8 species in there, so it looks rough. And for certain times of the year, we don't manage the ryegrass, which is a component in there at all, but we manage the alfalfa, we manage the chicory at that stage of the year. But you get a better quality pasture, and you get happier cows as well. So it's a very good story. We've had a very long and fruitful relationship with Nestlé. I think we've been producing milk for Nestlé uninterrupted for the last 70 years. And I think there's very little dairy farmers in the country that can say that they've never changed. We have done projects in the past with Nestlé on water sustainability and saving water. The wonderful thing in having a partner like Nestlé, an international company, is that there's sustainability there as well, and they're looking for sustainability as well. So me as a dairy farmer, so I'm connected to the consumer at the end of the day, and the consumer is very important to me. So it's important to me that the consumer knows where milk comes from, and it doesn't come from a fridge, it actually comes from a cow. And all of the good things that the consumer is buying when he or she is actually buying a bottle of milk or cheese. There's a lot of human sustainability in there. Labor on a dairy farm is generational labor. It's not people that come in and go out again. I have incredible personnel on this farm, and I can't do anything without my people. So the consumer buys into that. You're buying into animal welfare. Because only a happy cow produces milk. If there's something wrong with that cow, she won't produce milk. We've got a rotary dairy. The cows revolve in that dairy, and the personnel stands at the back of the cow, so the cow doesn't even see the personnel member that's touching her or milking her. But if I've got a new personnel member in the dairy, for that day, milk production will drop. Or she'll know this person is touching me differently than the person that touched me yesterday. So We only work with female animals, and the female species is very, very articulated in how to work with them. So we have to have happy cows. And then on an environmental side as well, which the consumer is buying into, look at the results that we have here. And that's one of the big drivers for me. We've got a lovely little coffee shop next to the farm, which sells very nice coffee. And I almost get a heart attack every time I go in there and somebody asks for almond milk. And I ask them, so who gets up at 4 to milk the bloody almonds? There's no such thing as almond milk or oat milk. It's oat juice and almond juice. And the carbon footprint on that is terrible. So go read your fancy replies on Facebook and your vegan friends telling you whatever. Milk is the first thing that each human takes in when it's born. So it's an essential part of the nutrients that we have to take in. And I want the consumer to feel good about buying milk, about buying dairy. And with that, if in this partnership with Nestlé, we can get the consumer to feel better about what they're buying, Nestlé will sell more milk, and I can produce more milk, and I can produce it more efficiently. So that's something that we have to work towards. We have to expand our South African dairy industry, because we probably produce the cheapest dairy in the world at the moment. And in a country which is under a lot of stress with food security, this is a basic food source, which gives you a very good value product. Stop at a gas station and a bottle of water is almost the same price as a little bottle of milk. So get the consumer to know what milk is, what the value of milk is, and what they're buying into at the moment. And with that partnership with Nestlé, we've got the producers, then we've got the secondary industry, which is Nestlé and the other milk buyers, and then we've got retail and the consumer at the end of the day. We're all part of this system. And we have to help each other to get this brand of milk better.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Andrea. It's an incredible privilege to be here with all of you today. But if you put a marketer on stage, best you know, you're in for a beautiful story that we want to tell. But it's also because ultimately marketing connects business with the consumer. And what we'd really love to take you through today is a reflection of how sustainability in action actually is unlocking sustainability in business in the future. I'm going to ask the team to put my presentation on, and then we'll kickstart on this journey. So as I said, my name is Andrea. I've been with the brand for 6 years and currently have the privilege of looking after brand and purpose for KFC. Now, I probably wouldn't be me if I spoke about purpose and I didn't briefly touch on my purpose, which is this beautiful family that I have the privilege of being a mother and a wife to. Now, by divine design, we were given this incredible privilege of being parents to these 2 girls. And I tell this little anecdote that's rooted in truth, that we're already incredibly proud of these 2 girls and the leadership skills that they're, showing every single day. Right now, I'm very unsure as to whether they're going to be leading a company or a gang in future, but we are very hopeful that, they've got bright futures ahead of us. And the reason why I talk about this is because when we talk about the future and sustainability in action, this is what it's about. So this should be top of mind for anybody that knows a young human or cares about the future of this country. But the reality is, South Africa is a tale of 2 sides. On the one side, we've got this incredible opportunity and potential that we know lies rooted in the deep fabric of this country. Average age of South Africa is 27, very young population. Across the African continent, that drops down to 19. But when we look at the realities that are faced by many of the young people in our country, You know that on the one side, there's this potential, but when we look on the other side, there is some very harsh realities that a lot of people in our country have to deal with. And often, the tools and resources that you have to unlock that potential really depends on which side of the highway you were born. So as KFC, we have got a bold ambition to be the most inclusive brand across the African continent, across our entire value chain. For us, it's not just about the bottom line and what we sell, but really how are we becoming a very real part of the solution? Because as a brand, we are because of the communities we operate in. And the health of those communities will fundamentally unlock the sustainability for us as a business in future. So let's talk about the realities and the macros at grassroots level. When the youngest part of your employable population has an unemployment figure of 60%, when it's again been proven that hunger in this country actually warrants the declaration of a state of disaster. And when 71% of our country lives under the poverty line, as a business, we cannot continue operating without a very clear consideration of the realities of the people and the communities we operate in. So, what we're seeing perpetuating for many people is this multi-generational poverty gap. So it's not just around this generation, it's around those that come and those that have been, where it all starts with a low income, which leads you to low education, health and opportunities, low human capital, low productivity, so I have low income, which then again leads you to low economic growth, low investment, low saving, generation after generation. So as business, and what we've decided as KFC is we need to break this cycle for us to ensure the future of this country. And in our corners, we're doing what we can do to ensure that prosperity is part of the story of the future for South Africa. And here's the inconvenient truth that all of us will need to sit with for a little bit and acknowledge. Business cannot succeed in societies that fail. Our potential, thank you. Our potential and future success cannot be greater than the people that we serve, that we provide to, that we sell to. So, we have got a bold ambition as a business to firstly serve our purpose. And a lot has been said around purpose. I want to be very clear, and I often say this in the business as well, the purpose of KFC is to sell the world's best fried chicken. There's no, I think, confusion in our building about that. But when we are able to unlock a sustainable business model, we have the ability to also give back to the communities we operate in, to create a greater value and impact across the communities that we serve and operate in. So, we have got our bold ambition, and part of our core strategy is to champion youth potential. One of the ways that we are doing that is by adding hope. Now, I know some of you are going, so where does my R2 go? So I'm here today to let you know exactly where that's going. I also need to put on record, and we've got our legal team here as well, we chase hope, not targets. So if anybody has any questions around that, very happy to take them after. But adding hope started as a small and humble idea. Our business is rooted in food, in providing food. So when we started looking at what our broader impact in society is going to be, we wouldn't go beyond that to start off with. So it started off as a small thing. We said, okay, as KFC, we are going to be adding a fixed percentage of our bottom line into Add Hope every month. But here's the thing. When more than 3 million kids are going to bed hungry every single day, when kids are taking turns around whose turn it is to eat today, we cannot be that arrogant to say we're going to solve this problem alone. So what we did is we started offering our customers the opportunity to add R2 to every transaction when you go and buy the world's best fried chicken. So it has grown far more than we had ever anticipated, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that now. But let's talk about the mechanism of adding hope. So, First, it starts off with your donation, your R2. Now, what we also know is when people go to KFC and they're buying that meal, the reality is that the likelihood of you having an additional R2 to give is higher than for the majority of our country. So your R2 gets added to KFC's donation, which is not dependent on your donation. Our donation will happen regardless. So we don't match. We don't ask you to give and then we'll give. We give regardless. It then goes into the Kentucky Fried Chicken Social Responsibility Trust. It's an independent legal organization that manages and oversees to make sure that this funding, firstly, it goes exactly where we promise you that it will go, and secondly, that it is the governance around it is in such a sense that we get the most value out of every donation we make. It then goes over to more than 130 nonprofit organizations, one of the largest networks of nonprofit organizations in this country, to then serve meals to more than 150,000 children. So, 15 years we're celebrating this year. We're incredibly proud of the partnership we've had with South Africa. Now, something that started off with a small idea like R2 has now raised more than R1 billion between KFC donations and customer donations. We were incredibly surprised and delighted when our customers started out-donating us in year 4, because that shows the effort of everybody doing a little bit in their part to contribute to something that might seem insurmountable. We've now served millions of meals. We reach more than 150,000 children every single year. But I think something that I sometimes struggle to get my head around is the fact that every single day, in more than 3,300 locations in South Africa, a child is getting a meal as a result of this program. And that's something that everybody that's given R2, please give yourselves a big round of applause. But here's the power of hope, and I can't tell you that this is KFC. We can't take the credit for this. There's a whole group of stakeholders that have come together to make this work. We're not experts in the feeding space, but we have become incredibly competent in the governing and fundraising space. So we've got partners. The first partners I want to chat around is the incredible team members in our restaurant that every single day give customers that opportunity to give R2, regardless of what the response might be, regardless of whether somebody's going to say yes or no, but because there's a bigger cause. Please meet Njabulo. We need some volume and sound, please, team. All righty, I'm going to go back. Give the team a moment. Let me know when you're ready. I'm also available for bar mitzvahs and baptisms, so if anybody has an opportunity, let me know in my spare time. I'm just going to ask the team to give me a signal from the back. We're waiting. All righty, here we go. I can hear it from the back. So when you're a marketer, this is your worst nightmare. So I think the clicker has also been...
Can I get my mic? Can we try it one more time? I've been known to do very good voiceovers, so I'm very ready to do a voiceover on this. Shall we go, please, team? And over to you. Should we try it?
We should absolutely,
Why
talk
not,
about
right?
what we're seeing.
Claire. Just play it again. We can even, which soundtrack should we use? Dun da 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 dun 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 da 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 dun da 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 da. Am I hearing more voices? Dun da 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 dun da da da. I can hear you. Dun da da da.
So Claire, I must tell you, when I leave here today and I phoned my mom and said I sang on stage, she's going to go, I knew you were going to be the one that brought the family into disrepute, right? So we kind of...
She's a good mom. At least she's not the one that's saying, oh, you sing amazing, my child. And then we see you on Idols.
Honest feedback. So while the team, and I know that this is their worst nightmare, so let's give them a round of applause as encouragement, because we tested it this morning, it was working beautifully. While they're doing that, I'd like to talk a little bit more about some of the other programs that we work on. So we've got two big levers where we go, this is how we feed people's potential. The first part of this is around literally feeding potential and making sure that children in South Africa do not have to worry about where their next meal comes from. The other part is really around building skills and opportunities. And the reason why we start with Add Hope is because when a child is hungry, you can give them the best education, you can give them the world's best uniform and sports equipment and whatever it is. Reality is they're not going to be able to make the most of it. So, without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to the guys in the back to tell you a little bit more about that.
The biggest problem that I've seen in the community that I'm living with, it's a crime. A lot of kids don't have parents, so they're not in support system, and we have to fight that. I thought about myself. I once lived without food, so I know that pain. Sleep without anything to eat. My name is Jabul President. I grew up from Newcastle, KZN. After my studies, then I came to Joburg. Luckily, I got a job at KPML 2018 as a team member. Then I grew as a team member from team member until RGM. Adobe is the program that's helping helpless kids. That is initiated, created by our brand. When a child has a meal every day, that child can do studies, so it really helps a lot to have a meal every day. When the pandemic started 2020, even though yes, it was a time for pandemic, our guests that time see that need to assist because they understand our struggle at Orange Farm. That we have to help one another. Anything that is organized around family, we're doing together. So it means we like a family. When they see other person struggle, they're also willing to help. So it feels special for me. So that's why it gives me that courage to push more and more to make sure, okay, let's do more of this, because you can see that when you are giving back to people, they are so excited. So it was a very, very special moment. I'm no longer taking this as a job now, I'm taking it like as a career now. Because I see that Adobe is doing a lot of changes to a lot of people. With us driving it to make sure that everyone gets a meal a day, it's like a passion now. Hence I said to you, I share with my team. I can't do it alone. So then once you build that with your team, that guys, let's do this, let's visit home. Even as booking, we're still visiting homes. Every June or July, we visit home, then we go there, we feed them, we do that. So you see that Adobe can make a huge difference to them.
Thank you. The next group of stakeholders, and I'm going to ask the team to click through for me, I'm not touching this any further, is really the beneficiary partners, and one of my biggest inspirations in my life. These are people that have dedicated their lives to making it better for other South Africans. And they say in times of duress and in times of need, look for the heroes. And these are real life heroes. So I'd like you to meet just one of those organizations, just briefly. And maybe she can give you a sense of how you can know that Adobe is real.
Gloria Ngosi. I am from an organization called Hope Worldwide South Africa. Maybe starting with myself. I was born and bred in Alexandra, and I grew up in a community where I could see the need and that going to bed hungry is a serious matter. And I think being able to be part of this initiative where you are seeing children, the combating of malnutrition, happening through At Hope, it's really impactful. One of the schools I can think about was, a principal who could not comply to government norms and standards, who couldn't register because the funds, the fees that the parents were paying were not enough to cater for food, to cater for paying the teachers, to cater for meeting the requirements for registration. And this teacher, once she joined the At Hope program, she was able to offset some of the funds she was getting from the fees, and she started putting, compliance issues. She fixed her preschool, and because of that, it became a center that was attractive to more parents, and so children came through. And now, as we speak, that preschool is registered today. But I think it's just one of the beautiful stories. There are too many. One, I remember there's a household, in one of the squatter camps, which, there was a fire and the child was really affected because the mother went to fetch water and there was a paraffin stove and it fell and the child ended up getting harmed and burning. And that child struggled to eat. Until, the parent came through, because the parents could not afford to buy nutritious food because they only depended on a grant. But once we started working with the mom and we provided them with a monthly food parcel, the mom was able to now provide the meal that the child wants. And we also measure, the impact through, doing scores from when we started and after. And we have seen that change where the child moved from being malnourished now to being healthy.
There are many more of those stories, right? So they're incredible testaments. So if you ever want to see some of this in action, please, I'd love for you to host you on the day. And then I think lastly, the most important is the end beneficiaries. Because ultimately, this is for the kids. It's for the future of our country. It's for the future presidents, the future engineers, the future Siya Kholisis. And I'd love for you to meet just one of the success stories we've had over the last 15 years.
Hi, my name is Sipati and I'm 19 years old. I'm currently studying mechanical engineering at Wits University. I was raised by a single mother. Luckily, the At Hope and CGCSA would come in and help. I'd go to class like every other kid, smiling, happy, showing life, knowing there's hope. In our country, we have this South African proverb that says it takes a village to raise a child. At Hope and the Turent demonstrated that not only the family can provide food for kids, but it also came in and assisted. I'd like to say to the people that Turent and At Hope makes a big difference. If our kids are not hungry, we can achieve almost everything. Today I'm studying mechanical engineering and I hope to specialize in material science, and I hopefully would love to work with Elon Musk so that we can invade Mars together.
But here's the thing, we're not done. And there's more to do. South Africa needs us to do more, and we're inviting value chain partners across it. We are optimizing our supply chain to see how we can make this more effective, get greater return on the donations we have. How do we leverage the 130 organizations that we've got? But here's the thing, we've got a bold ambition. We will not stop until, and you can open on the last slide and then I'm done. We will not stop until we serve 500 million meals by 2030. So we are constantly on the lookout for more partners, like the Khaleesi Foundation, Gift to the Givers, and more than 130 organizations. But we're also asking you to join the fight against hunger and be part of the solution to what is going to unlock the future of South Africa. Thank you very much.
One question from me, Andra. I think one or two questions, and I think it's amazing to see you do the work and how passionate you are about it. But I think a lot of us are fearful sometimes of giving because we don't understand the audit process, a sophisticated way of putting it, or what is the security that what I'm giving is going direct into those who need it. How are you getting that right? Because if you get that right, many more people will give so freely and much more regularly.
So firstly, we are maniacal about this because it's not only is it 40 million of our own money every single year, but we take that responsibility up with even greater responsibility because it's public money, it's our customers' money. So if we were ever found to be spending it on anything other than what we're promising you, as a big brand, can you imagine the devastating consequences, not just to us, but to the kids that are meant to be benefiting from this? So we are independently audited every single year. It's independently managed by a separate legal entity, and the annual financial statements are online. So we've got nothing to hide. We are very passionate about transparency. So if you're ever concerned about that and you don't find the answers you want on the website, although it's all there, please let us know. We are happy to open our books, let you know exactly what it costs to feed kids in this country, but also why we believe it's so incredibly important, not from a governance perspective, but from a sustainability perspective, that we do the right things for the right reasons.
So I really think, round of applause to that. I think it's an important and a critical question. I know that each and every one of us wants to give and we want to make a difference. So whatever it is that holds you back, do your homework. Go on the website, ask people, follow the money and see what it does and put your money where it'll make the biggest impact. So one more round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. If I'm not mistaken, we have one more video, a wrap up. Let's cue that one.
Hello and greetings to members of the Consumer Goods Council of South Africa. I'm David Rogers, the International Development Director at WRAP. And since 2018, I've been working with partners in South Africa on the topics of food waste and plastic pollution. WRAP is a global environmental NGO, transforming our product and food systems to create circular living. We examine sustainability challenges through the lens of people's everyday lives. We transform the systems that provide the products we consume. We catalyse action from policymakers, businesses, NGOs and citizens to make it happen. WRAP works to support the development and delivery of public-private partnerships, tackling food loss and waste at scale across the world. This work is done in line with the UN SDG 12.3, target to halve all food waste by 2030. Aside from the fact that 2.8 billion people worldwide are unable to afford a healthy, nutritious diet, food waste is a critical issue with wide-ranging impacts on the environment, economy, and society. When we look at key activities to mitigate the effects of climate change, reducing food waste is becoming more and more of a priority, as 1/3 of all carbon emissions emitted worldwide are due to food waste. This is due to the decomposing food waste in landfills producing methane, a potent greenhouse gas that significantly contributes to climate change. The food production process, including agriculture, processing and transportation, also emits large quantities of greenhouse gases. 60 to 80% of biodiversity loss is caused by food-related agriculture. And UN projections are that global demand for fresh water will exceed supply by 40% within the next 6 years. In September 2020, the Consumer Goods Council of South Africa, together with WRAP, the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, and the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, launched the South African Food Loss and Waste Initiative, a public-private partnership to reduce South Africa's food waste by 50% by 2030. Signatories of the Food Loss and Waste Initiative include global and national food retailers, food manufacturers and hospitality and food service businesses, as well as NGOs and trade associations. The Consumer Goods Council of South Africa are responsible for the delivery of a calendar of signatory engagement and technical assistance that enable the adoption of food waste targets and the principles of Target, Measure, Act across signatories. Due to our experience in running similar food loss and waste public-private partnerships in other countries, WRAP has been supporting as a strategic partner of the initiative, providing technical capacity where needed. Signatories started reporting data in 2021 and are taking action to reduce food loss and waste in their own operations. A food donation best practice guideline has been developed to help facilitate the donation of food that is fit for human consumption. This guideline is being used as the basis for a national food donation management standard. Today, we're excited that we have 73 signatories of the initiative. South Africa Food Loss and Waste Initiative activities combine with activities across the Food Pact network so that we can all learn from each other and accelerate our impact. In Indonesia, Graph's 2030 signatories tested a new technology solution which has saved 6 million tonnes of food waste. 15 million tonnes of food waste have been reduced in Australia since the launch of the Food Pact in 2021. And food waste has been reduced by over 27% across the signatories to the UK Quartile commitment since 2007. Food waste is a problem for both people and planet. Food waste has a significant environmental footprint, and its production requires vast amounts of resources. Food waste exacerbates global hunger and food insecurity. Every year, enough food is wasted that could feed billions of people, yet millions suffer from chronic hunger. When nutritious food goes to waste, people lose the opportunity to consume balanced, healthy diets. Be part of the solution. Everyone has a role to play in reducing food loss and waste. Food waste reduction isn't just for governments and businesses, it starts with individual actions. By being mindful of personal food consumption, storage and disposal habits, each person can contribute to reducing the environmental and social impacts of food waste. Individual choices add up. Consumers make up a significant proportion of food waste at the household level, and small changes like planning meals, buying only what's needed and properly storing food can reduce food waste on a large scale. Let's get active. You can drive change by supporting sustainable initiatives like the South African Food Loss and Waste Initiative. By choosing to engage with businesses and organisations that prioritise sustainability, food waste reduction and voluntary agreements, individuals can influence and create market demand and drive further commitment to these global goals. Consumers do have the power to shape industries by supporting companies that are actively working to reduce food waste. We can all encourage individuals to ask questions, demand transparency and prioritise sustainability in their purchasing choices, reinforcing this global movement.
So one of the things that this conference has done really well, it started with topics that are often at the end of most sessions. Sustainability is always the last conversation. The conversation around responsibility, whether it be citizen or government, always last. So we started on the other end. But if you want to know what's lined up for the rest of the program, in your name tag, at the back, there's a QR code. You can scan that code. It'll give you a highlight, an overview of the program going forward. So I just want you to know where we're at. Right? And then we do have some prizes to give away as well. Really nice prizes. I've got some people here. My people, you've got me. You have to go to the stand at the back, and it's called the Chop and Marsh stand, and they will be there for you to register so that you can possibly win a prize. We've got an iPad going, a lot of Take-A-Lot vouchers. So please enjoy just filling in your name and getting yourself ready to win the competition. It is... And stay here till you actually win the prize. All prizes unclaimed are taken by myself. So it's up to you, really. And I'm not going to do a big effort to try to find you. It's not going to happen. We also later on going to have a little bit of a Mentimeter program. So take your notes down, the things that are important to you. Just, pen them down or put them down on a cell phone or something. We're going to have Mentimeter up later, which is a little tool so we can get all your input. We really want to know how to do it better and even better next year. But didn't you just like this the video on the farm? Wasn't that amazing? I mean, and he had to be called what? Farmer George. Hey, George. Good morning, Farmer George. I really loved his presentation, and for me, I just feel inspired to reignite a world that we just don't know much about. We often deal with the end product, but we're not there when we see the process of being milled. And I'm the guilty almond person, and I have stopped now. I will not be doing milking any more almonds. But when we went to the farm, my daughter thinks I can speak with animals, which is great. She's 8 years old, and I've got that story tight. And she asked me, I wonder what the cows are saying, Mom. One of the cows said, Buddy was like, yo, Judith, ingati we've got a new one at the back milking us. You should feel his hands, Azirafi. For sure he comes from the Skitom farm there down the road. It's like Ukovisinkwa. He's making bread here. Yo, Mamela Angela there at the end. By the time he gets to you, I'm telling you now, you're going to see flames. And then, of course, Veronica's like, julle is altyd so. Julle wil altyd met die mense beklei. Nee, hy's net hier vir die melk. Gee hom die melk, dan sal alles net reg wees. So that was me acting out at Farmer George's place. I could have stayed there the whole day making videos. But it gets better. It gets a little bit more technical. The next conversation, okay, is presented by a very light person. So I hope she's going to make it light. She's tiny. She's going to make it light. But it speaks to a very complex issue around the value chain or the systems that govern retail. And how do you take all of that technology and use AI and use the future to condense it and make it simple for you to do complex business in a very simple way? Okay? Stay awake for this one. It's tough, but she simplifies it. I love AI, and so I'm looking forward to you telling us a little bit more about what research says we should be doing and can do better and simplify it. So come on stage, please. I'd like to please ask you to clap for Dr. Lebogang Masupia Semenya. She's a senior lecturer at the Johannesburg Business School. A lot of accolades, an MBA, a PhD, an MMH, an SDP, and anything else you can think of, she's got it. And that's the intro to the bio.
Are we on? Oh, there we go. Thank you so much for that introduction. As I've been introduced, I'm Dr. Lebogang Masupia Semenya, a senior lecturer at the Johannesburg Business School, which is a business school of the University of Johannesburg. I'm supposed to have a clicker for my slides. Oh, thank you. Because when the organizer spoke to me, they said, please don't give us a lecture, right? So we'll just call it a presentation, but please learn something, right? So today I'll be presenting on the topic Unified Commerce, the Growth Equation under duress. Click. There we go. So this is the contents of my presentation. I would like for us to unpack the growth equation, then talk about its pressures, the pressures that are on the growth equation, as well as the challenges that we are facing in the digital age. Then I want to zoom in on a particular challenge, which is fragmented data, and then we'll talk about the consequences thereof. Then I want to offer unified commerce as a solution to this fragmented data. Then I want us to move together towards a future that's of exponential growth using unified data as well as analytics, and that's where AI would actually come in. And then I would like to conclude. Is that okay? Good. We're going back. Click forward. Let's unpack the growth equation. We know very well that the growth equation is traffic times conversion rate times average order purchase and purchase frequency. Many of us know this growth equation. But what do we actually mean? So by traffic, we mean the number of visitors who enter your site or who enter your store. Then we talk about conversion rate, which is the percentage of visitors who actually make a purchase. So how many people are actually buying, right? Then we move to average order, which basically just talks about your basket. How big is your basket? We want to make that basket bigger. And lastly, we talk about purchase frequency. We want our customers to return. So back in the days, not necessarily back in the days, but for a number of decades, the way we've been growing our organizations is by increasing the traffic, increasing the conversion rate, increasing that basket. So we don't only just want a basket, we want a trolley, right? And we want our customers to return, and not alone, but with all their friends. So that's how we've been tackling growth. But in this digital age, we are facing a number of challenges in terms of how we grow. And I just want to tackle some of them in this very busy slide. The first one is changing consumer behavior. We are getting aware that there's a shift from brick and mortar to online shopping, right? And our customers are also looking for that personalized experience. Data complexity. So as this digital space expands, data is also getting more complex. So we have to figure out, how do we now collect it? How do we integrate it? And how do we analyze it, which is something very important for this presentation of ours today. We are facing increasing competition. When we talk about e-commerce, we're not only competing locally, but we're competing with international players from different fields. Supply chain disruptions. The pandemic has shown us that disruption can actually cause a challenge in the ability of our companies to maintain smooth operations. Then there are others, like technology adoption. However, technology is not necessarily the challenge. It is the adoption thereof, meaning it can be slow, it can be costly, but technology itself is a solution to most of our challenges. Then environmental and social concerns and regulatory challenges which have been talked about. So let's take a few of these and just talk about them and unpack them briefly. The first one being the key challenge number one, a shift from physical to digital shopping. How does this now affect the growth equation? Here are some stats. That's the penetration of e-commerce in South Africa between 2017 and projected 2027. And you can see that the trend is increasing in terms of e-commerce. So what this is basically saying is that in 2017, 30% of South Africans were shopping online. Now in 2024, this number is at 52%. It is projected that by 2027, this number will be 60%. So we're seeing that more and more people are shopping online. So there's that shift from brick and mortar to online. But what does the customer say? The customer is very optimistic, as you can see from this graph. 63.2% are very optimistic about online retail industry growth outlook over the next 5 years, and only 0.5% are very pessimistic. So you can see that there's a high level of confidence from the consumer about e-commerce. In e-commerce, I hope you can see the chairs are not blocking you. There are about 20 main players, right? And the size of the market is about 71 billion. But there's only 6% of the total retail penetration. And that 6% in the US is 40%. So you can see that the harvest is plentiful, but the traders are few. Right? And that's why we have a number of traders from international organizations actually coming in, and therefore we compete with them as well. And they come with big budgets that draw up traffic to their websites. So there's a lot of challenges that we're facing. But what does a shift from physical to digital shopping mean for the growth equation model? You can see that traditionally all that we had to deal with was traffic that was driven by footfall. In this digital age, it's quite different. Traffic is from everywhere. It is driven by the websites, it's driven by app usage, by social media, and so on. Conversion rate, you only had to convert using great customer service and in-store experiences, right? Personal experiences. On the digital side, it's much bigger than that. We have to adopt new ways of drawing in traffic and converting. That funnel there tells you that in the digital space, about 100 million people are visiting your site. Out of that 100 million, only 60 million are viewing your products. Then only 4 million are adding something to their cart. Then only 1 million is checking out. But only 500,000 is actually transacting. So out of the 100 million people that entered your site, only 500 have bought something. So you've converted only 0.5%. And this basically shows us that we really have to use new ways to grow, right? That we did not use traditionally. So we have to grow in a different manner. The second challenge, you can see my crown there, because data is king and is getting more and more complex in the digital age. What do I mean? Consumer good market spans a variety of channels. We've just spoken about this. We've talked about brick and mortar and the digital space. But each of these actually generates a vast amount of data that you have to now learn how to collect. You have to learn how to integrate, and you have to learn how to analyze. You've done very well in terms of collecting this data. You use analytical applications like your CRM systems and so on, and these actually analyze these for you. But what is lacking, and what I've observed that we're lacking in our industry, is that we're unable to integrate this data. So you have omni-channels, but you're not able to integrate this data. And that's the challenge that I want us to focus on today. Because not having integrated data about your customer actually leads to a point where you don't have a holistic view of your customer. So out of everything that I've said, out of all the challenges that I've mentioned, I want us to just zoom in on one, and that's fragmented data. So let's think about what the consequences are of fragmented data. You'll have operational inefficiencies, right? In terms of siloed data, you have data online, in-store, on your mobile apps. That leads to operational inefficiencies because now you have delayed orders, you have inaccurate inventory, and so on. Inconsistent customer experience. A customer may find a product on store, so I go online to your website, and I find a dress, and I don't want to buy it there. So I decide, let me go to your shop, let me fit it, and see if it'll fit like this. Right? When I get there, there's no dress. It's there online, but it's not available in your shop. Can you imagine the distrust that it creates in me? I will walk away and go elsewhere. So it's quite bad for business. And lastly, which is very important to us, ineffective decision-making. Data that is not integrated will cause you to miss opportunities, right? So you miss opportunities in terms of personalized offers, you can't create targeted marketing, and therefore you can't make real-time decisions. So it's quite dire, and we need to think about that. And it is at this point in time that I would like to then suggest to us that we need to start unifying our data. And that's where unified commerce actually comes in. What is unified commerce, you might ask or already know? It is a strategy where all channels, online, in-store, mobile, along with your back-end systems, right? Like your inventory management, order fulfillment, are integrated into a single platform. Right? The best way to discuss what something is to also discuss what it is not. Unified commerce is not omni-channels because omni-channels provide multiple customer-facing channels. So basically, you give the customer a number of points to interact with the organization. Right? That's just omni-channel, is not unified commerce. Unified commerce is also not seamless commerce. Right? Seamless commerce is where you now start enhancing your customer journey by ensuring that the smooth, seamless integration, transaction between those touch points. But it also has issues in terms of front-end data, which might be shared, but the back-end, you might still have fragmented data. Unified commerce, on the other hand, consolidates all those sales channels and back-end systems into one platform. So at the end of the day, you have unity between your customer data as well as your operations. Right? That's unified commerce. But globally, we find that we are at the seamless commerce stage. As you can see that quote by Isabel Allen, who's the global head of consumer and retail at KPMG International. She said that we are only now entering the age of seamless commerce implies that no retailer, no sector, no market has as yet fully perfected this model to deliver both a superior customer experience and profit growth. Right? So we see that we are only entering the seamless commerce side. As you can see, that's the study that was conducted by KPMG for organizations in different countries, China, India, US, Germany, and they were measuring seamless commerce maturity index. And between 1 and 5, where 1 is low maturity, 5 is high maturity. And you can see that China is at 3.91 over 5, which means that we still have a long way to go. Even China is going very high, but it is still at 3.91 in terms of seamless commerce maturity. So at the end of the day, what this says is that we are only entering now the seamless commerce, but this still doesn't solve our issue of data fragmentation. Data fragmentation can be sorted by unifying your data. So we need to move from omni-channels to seamless commerce to unified commerce. Do we agree? Good. How is unified commerce a potential solution to the growth equation? We're saying that you can drive more relevant traffic to your organization because now you have personalized marketing. So you don't have that challenge with the funnel where 100 million people are entering your site, but only 60 are viewing and only viewing your products. And the 40 million, it means you marketed amiss. You're not doing personalized marketing. It means that, there you go, your conversion rate is likely to increase because now you offer real-time inventory visibility, which means that I know that if I look at a dress online, I will find it in your store. Thirdly, average order value, because you're leveraging on real-time omnichannel data, then you're able to increase that basket. And because of this, then I'm able to return to your store. Right? So we see that it increases. These are some of the stats for retailers that expect a wide range of benefits from unified commerce. There are quite a few of them, but this was a study that was conducted by Bain and Aptos in 2023. So you find that 73% of retailers expect that there will be profitability. 68% expect customer experience, 60% expect employee experience, and 66% supply chain inventory. So you can see that there are a number of benefits that one can expect there. Now let's go towards growing. So we've talked about the growth equation. We've talked about the challenges that it faces. We've zoomed out and taken out fragmented data. And we've offered unified commerce as a solution. But now what does this mean? So what? Right? And this is what now I want to talk to you about, the so what. Because using unified data means that you've collected your data. But how do you now analyze it to make sure that you grow exponentially from the point that you find yourself going forward? And that's why I needed to just put a slide to teach you a little bit about, it's not a lecture, to teach you a little bit about data analytics. There's a family of data analytics. We have descriptive analytics, which you've been using. That means you're trying to look at the data and seeing what actually happened. So you're able to review your sales from the previous months. You're able to analyze website traffic to determine peak time. So that's descriptive data, descriptive analytics. We have diagnostic analytics, where you try and figure out why does something happen. So perhaps there's a plunge in sales, and then you try and figure out what has actually happened from the data. Then we have predictive analytics, and that's about what is likely to happen. You have been using predictive analytics for quite some time, right? Because that basically says to predict demand, but also product recommendation. So when I'm on your site, when I'm on your app, you see that I've bought washing powder, then you realize, this could go very well with, I nearly said Stay Soft, I mean fabric softener, yes, fabric softener, not Stay Soft. But I want us to now start thinking about moving away from how we've been growing to how we can grow exponentially. And this is where prescriptive analytics actually come in. This is what should now happen. So an example of this is, imagine if you can now determine when I need washing powder in my household. Right? So let's start taking our minds to that place. I'll explain it just now. This is the DIKW pyramid, which we academics use to explain the relationship between data and wisdom. Data is basically facts and figures, so you collect your data, you can collect your unified data. Information is given that data context. Knowledge is interpreting that information, so trying to understand what it's actually saying. But wisdom is knowing what to do. And what you want to do is operate at that peak. Currently, what has been happening with the way that we analyze or we use analytics, or the way that you've been growing, is that you've ended at that knowledge box. You haven't necessarily used prescriptive analytics to move to the wisdom, to the peak of this pyramid. And that's what I want to show you today. So I'll start with an example to show you what I'm trying to say. This is data. It's just facts, it's just figures, they lack context. You can see the 1st of February, 1st of June, 20 July, 14 September, and so on. When we move to the information level, it is when I now start giving you context about what that information is. And what that information is my washing powder purchase data. Many households don't have this problem, but in my house we do, where our helper refuses to tell us when we will need washing powder. She insists on telling us on the day she needs it that we need washing powder, right? So back in the days, I used to now have to drive to the shop and bring her the washing powder that she needs. But God has had mercy, and now we have apps. And now I can order on the app and they'll bring the washing powder. So this data is data that I've actually gotten from the app to try and figure out, understand my purchasing behavior. So you'll see that when we move to the next level, you'll see that in our household, because there's only 3 of us, we don't buy washing powder like everybody else. It's at irregular intervals. You'll see that the purchases are normally on a Saturday because it is that day that she will tell us that we need washing powder. But what you will also notice is that that's missing data between the 1st of February and June. Why is there missing data? It is because some of that data is sitting in the shop. It is when I went to the shop to buy washing powder, right? So you will see that now we start having fragmented data messing with what we need to be doing. Some data is sitting in the store, some data is sitting online, and therefore your data is fragmented. But what I want to do is get to the wisdom level, where I want to predict when when next I will need washing powder. And so I took that data, put it on Excel. You'll see that that's the historic data, the blue that you saw in the diagram. And then I used Excel to predict when next I will need washing powder. With you won't use Excel. It'll be a lot of data, it'll be big data, so you would need to use machine learning, AI as well. So the programs that you use will be able to predict this for you. So I predicted there, and that data point there, well, I can't. But you see, just there by 5, up there. That's the 19th of October. So according to this, it says that the next time I will need washing powder will be on the 19th of October, which is next week. But when I checked my washing powder, I realized that no, in actual fact, I will need it this week. So it is out by a week, my prediction. And it is out by a week because my data is fragmented. If I had the data that was missing between February and June, it would have predicted the 12th, right? But let's leave me alone and think about if you can do this for me, if you can do this for all your customers, predict when next they will need the important things in their houses, right? So you will send me a notification text, your washing powder is almost finished. Would you like to place an order? Right? Then I press, of course, yes. I would please help me reorder, and then we'll talk about the delivery or pickup or any of these things. But that's where I want us to take our minds to, where you start thinking about your customer on this level, right? Where you are able to now manage my inventory household. How does that now affect our growth model? It means that you boost overall traffic. When you send me that message, press here, I might as well just look around and see what else you got, right? So you're improving your traffic. Sorry, let me just go back. The conversion rate, higher conversion rate. I know I need washing powder, right? So I will certainly be buying. Average order, you might as well just tell me about fabric softener while we're at it. So you're increasing my basket. And purchase frequency, I will certainly be back if you treat me in this manner, and I will call all my friends. Let's conclude. I'm out of time. So now, currently, how we've been growing, we've been using siloed data, and we've been using predictive analytics. But I'm saying to us, let's move away from this. Let's move towards a place where we use unified data, right? Not fragmented, not some on the app, not some at the shop, but unified data and prescriptive analytics. And that's how you will grow exponentially. So, ladies and gentlemen, the future of commerce is unified. Thank you. Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. Do I have any questions for Dr. Lebogang? We have one right in the front, and maybe one more. Should we just take two so that we save time? If I can get mics over here and here. And while we're waiting for the mics to get to them, just some of the notes that you said I must make sure to tell everybody. Your papers are due on Friday at 2 p.m. The system will capture late submissions. You will be penalized accordingly. No emails will be reviewed for any late submissions. This does not go towards your earmark, your bonus, or no benefits to pension. But if you took any notes at all, if she so much as sees predictive analytics, she'll lose it, okay? We're all about prescriptive analytics, okay? All right, looking forward to your papers. Do you have a mic over here? Okay, you're not passing this module. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, in your story of washing powder, did you take into consideration the quantity used per cycle? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's take the next one so that it's part of your close as well.
Tell your boss, Dr. Randall Carolison, thanks, send greetings. When I did honors in urban and development geography, there was a book we studied, The Death of the City. I've developed a model, and Dr. Najabulu Nedebele said, in 3 years' time, I will destroy the apartheid structure of cities. My elder son, 36, got an IT company, 36 people. He will develop the system for us to create 120 billion consumer goods business. Gareth, you people made the right decision to start closing stores. Okay? So I think ahead. That's the only way in which we're going to create a more equal society. You can bring Busi and Panyasa Lusufi in a room, and I will grab him and say, make peace so that we grow South Africa. But remember, I predicted the death of the supermarket, and I'm predicting the death of the apartheid city too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Uncle Leon. We all need an uncle like you. At every wedding, at every funeral, there is that uncle we need. Uncle Leon. Every year I want to see you here. Okay, because we didn't have one in the last couple of years. It was boring. It was boring. Death to apartheid and everything else. It is dead though. Oh my God. Yes, it is dead. I nearly forgot. Thank you so much, Dr. Lebogang. Let's give her one more round of applause.
Oh, I was about to answer his question.
Oh, yes,
Very
yes, we
quickly.
have one more.
Yes. In many houses, let me not assume. In my house, we only buy 2 kilograms, right? And it lasts us, I can't say it lasts us a month, but we have to really predict when next we will need, because as I said, there's only 3 of us in the house, but we only use that 2 kilograms. And even when you predict, for instance, with the slide that I showed you, price, years, delivery, and so on. And that you would also ask me how many kilograms, but you would also see from my data, my previous day, my past data, what type I order, what size I order, and so on. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Does anybody know a company called Isabella Garcia? A lot of us, right? I've just been a victim to Isabella Garcia, because they phone me and they say, hi, Zanele, how are you doing today? Oh, they're so nice. And I think, oh my God, they're so nice. I can't drop the phone. And they say, you know, Zanele, after 45, your skin needs extra special care, because should you be experiencing any blemishes or any discoloration, we really have a couple of products that we'd like to recommend for you. I go, seriously? Oh my God, okay, what are they? So 3 months later, I've got my first pack. I'm using Isabella Garcia. Zanele, how is it? You know, I'm going to send you some samples, Zanele. You've got to try this other serum that's balancing and nutrifying and whatever. I go, oh my God, really? Okay. Then they send me that, and then I'm trying the samples, and then 3 months later, Zanele, we've sent you your next package. Are you happy with it? You know, we really want to make sure that you've got the right products. And I'm like, yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm using it well. It really saves me time, da-da-da-da-da. A month ago, they go, you know, Zanele, there's this amazing cloth we have, right? Because, you know, last time we spoke, you told me that every now and again you wear makeup, and, you know, to remove the makeup, this cloth is called a microfiber thing. Look at the ladies nodding, right? You've gotten that call from Isabella Garcia about the cloth, right? And this cloth is really great. Like, if you're really lazy, you just put a little bit of soap, a little bit of water, you wash the makeup off, and I literally want to cancel Isabella Garcia, but I get so anxious. You get so anxious because they know what you need next. Like, they know that this cloth is magic, and then this other balancing serum. I find to be the most amazing opportunities to unlock the potential of our customers. You know, had I never come across Isabella Garcia, I would not have gotten addicted to just the phone call. I can't wait for them to phone me. And just to have the conversation about my future, my face, my life, my happiness. So I don't know if technology can do this, but Isabella Garcia is doing it. And good luck to them in the age of AI. And next time we should have them, actually. But let me speak to you about the laptop, the iPad that you could possibly win, the Take-A-Lot vouchers. They are brought to us by a company called Chip and Marsh, an incredible company. We don't think about them, but these are the guys that do the deliveries. No, they don't do the deliveries. They do the logistics. And these amazing logistics of getting one product from one place to another, and every single process that's required to move what somebody's made to your doorstep. They're an incredible organization. Go have a conversation with them. They're global specialists, over 150 years of experience in the industry. They operate worldwide with incredible expertise. So do go in, register. You could win an iPad and tons of Take-A-Lot vouchers. But up next is a panel that needs, if you think anything needed managing this morning, you're in for a treat for this one. I'm the moderator. They put the professional on this one. And it's lessons from independent retailers. I'd love to invite on stage Suhail Bayat. He's the director for Super Safe Supermarket. Is he close by? Fantastic. Let's give him a round of applause. And Jason Pereira. He's the director of Unitrade Management Services. And I'll be using this one over here, number 1. If I can work it out. And I've worked it out, number 1. And how are you today? Right. You have to be made of something very special to break through this industry in a significant way. You've got to be made of special DNA. What does it take to build a business, the way in which you've built your businesses? What has it taken of you, from you, to ensure that you are where you are today? So this gives you a chance to just give us a quick snapshot of who you are and what it took to get here.
Okay, great. I don't know.
Please go ahead.
Great. Yes, I think, and Suhail and myself will be in the same position. I think we grew up in cash and carries and wholesalers and retailers. I've been going around to cash and carry since 6 years old. And actually, some of those retailers are still part of our buying group or our trading association. So it was actually quite difficult to break that professional child boundary, because they actually used to come and tell me, go to the sweets area and go pick a packet of sweets. You know, and I was already 24 at the time. So, you know, I think having mentors in the business like my father, like Abu Khatib, has built that passion that you don't actually find generally now in the newer generational people, because it's not very attractive market, the independents. And I think even some of the suppliers here also know of both of our businesses. But a lot of people don't actually know, and we were talking about data now, is that, you know, big data is based on data from so many modern trades, because that's where you can get your information from. But not everyone knows that the independent trade, businesses of mine, his, and even my competitors in that industry, is worth about 24% of the actual retail trade. This is obviously from one data house I got this, and the independents contribute 200 billion to the total trade, where the modern trade contributes about 630. So and obviously there's a lot of in-between buying between independents themselves because they're very much opportunists. So I think it's a business you really have to enjoy to be in. Even in my business, you'll see people come and go, and they just don't enjoy it. But the ones that stay, we have a very low retention, turnover that we lose. So we have, just in my team, I think about 140 years just worth of buying experience, because they just don't want to go anywhere, because they love what they do. It's not, you don't read it from a computer. You deal with independents like Suhail, who will fight you for 5 cents. And it is very difficult, but it is very rewarding at the same time, because when we get there together, we achieve something. And I think that's how I think what my passion came from in this business is from my father. He actually started the business in the first place. So,
Thank you, Jason. Really laid a great foundation for the conversation. Suhail, to you.
I think the same. Family business. We're well over 40 years now. We started off with 3 till points, or 4 till points in 1984. And now we are just under 8,000 square meters. We grew the business over the last 40 years with 106 till points in a one store, 3 entrances and exits. Same, igniting passion, putting goods on the floor, making sure it sells. From a young age, we've been groomed to get there, and it's so satisfactory to put a promotion together and to see it be successful. And that's what made me want to be an entrepreneur. I think from a young age, when my friends were playing soccer, I was in the shop packing, I was on the tills, I was forced labor, unfortunately. But looking back to that point, I am so fortunate to have been in that situation and growing with the business.
And it's incredible how much the business today is contributing. And I want us to unpack a little bit of that, because we always focus on the big groups, but we don't understand South Africa is actually built on small to medium-sized businesses. That's where the largest population of people are being employed. It's overlooked. Give us a clear view of what is the impact that you have. 200 billion in a market where the others are 630 billion. It's huge. So what is the impact you're making?
I think just because, I think even South Africa has been based, not just in our trade, on entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurship has actually driven a lot of jobs in all these small areas. If you're in the independent trade, you've gone to some of the deepest, darkest places out there. I think having the independents being quite a strong portion in the retail environment creates good competition, which at the end of the day is going to impact the consumer. If we have a new player in the market that comes and cannibalizes too much, competition gets less, obviously, and then it actually lands up where the consumer's paying a bit more because there's less competition. We've seen that we have stores in Australia as well, and we've seen the same thing. There's 2 big modern traders, and they control the price. So you're having a huge amount of independence in every single town. Makes a big difference to the consumer at the same time, because those consumers also, some of them, some of our stores have been around for now 110 years. It's grandfathers, generations that have shopped there. I think that is changing with the new generation. They want a good shopping experience, and I think Suhail can probably go on a little bit more in terms of, it's not just about, it used to be if the cash and carry looked disgusting and there were no lights, let's go shop there because it's the cheapest. The customer these days, doesn't matter if you're making 5 Rand or 1,000 Rand, you want a good customer shopping experience. And I think that's where Suhail's really, probably out of any independents in the country, done the best job.
I think the impact that we want to make is community driven. We're still a community store, we're still your mom and pop store. We're fighting for our consumer. As Jason said, we'll fight for 5 cents if we have to, but that's not the point. It's what we give back to our consumer. And it's a street fight every day just for the consumer's purse to have some money towards the end of the month. And that's why we're always going to remain here. I know that we spoke about the urban decay or whatever it is, but brick and mortar is something that needs to remain, and we want to make it a holistic experience as a customer. When you walk into the store, you love shopping there, and it must make you want to come back again. Yes, you're going to shop online, you're only going to buy the washing powder. But then what? you still need other groceries. So you have to come out, you're going to touch, you're going to feel, you realize I need to take something else. And the impulse buying, it's always going to be there. It's easy to say that you're going to shop online, but you're only going to buy six items to the detriment of the supplier, to the detriment of our businesses, to the detriment of the smaller businesses. Everybody needs brick and mortar. We cannot let it die.
Without a shadow of a doubt, do you think that's even an option, that brick and mortar will die? I mean, I'm sitting here thinking wide-eyed, I don't see that happening. Are there threats that you believe are in the industry that be it the online stores, are they taken away from the value that we see down the line that comes from the job creation that is the stores that are brick and mortar?
Yeah, look, I mean, every business is looking to be more nimble and cutting down expenses. And if you don't need to open a shop in a certain area, but they want to do a black store and deliver 30 items that are necessary items, then most businesses are looking at cutting expenses. And you're always looking over your shoulder to cut expenses, have fewer stores, and make an online approach. But it's a threat to us because eventually customers are going to transition slowly into that move.
Here's where I think the challenge is. Maybe Jason, you can answer this for me. When we do road trips, I see still quite the bigger players trying to be in all those areas. Why do we in South Africa not have a model where your smaller stores are the ones that are given preference, that they are the ones that are operating in most environments where they are closest to the consumer who wants to literally carry a packet home, versus the bigger stores that's expecting a trolley? And where I live, I don't have those smaller stores, but I would love to shop, because when I shop there, I also need value for money. I also want to get good quality goods at a reasonable price, because you don't just buy for yourself, you buy for your helpers' children, you're buying at home, you're sending down to family. Are you not being given the opportunity to be present wherever you feel you can make an impact?
I think we actually are in all those areas. And I mean, I think even what you said now is you also want to go to a small store. Sohail's store is 8,000 squares. It's generally bigger than Superspars or obviously, those big box formats. So, and generally, if you go to any of the stores in the community, I'm not saying all my stores, it could be my competitors, any independents, 90% of the time, they're actually the leader in that market, because they have the flexibility and adaptability to just look after that niche market, right? We have markets where we're in where it's a very Indian market. Your modern trade can't, unfortunately, well, fortunately for us at least, can't actually pass on all those niche products that they get. And it's also understanding those customers. Sohail, other owners, sometimes they sit there, they actually pack the groceries in there and ask the customer. If you're talking to the customer, data is great, but if you can sit there face to face with anyone, I think that's the best way to do it going forward. Yes, times will change. I think in South Africa, we're still far behind in terms of some of the other areas like Australia, the US. And even there, I think with how much they buy online, I think food is it's not something that is huge. I mean, myself, I'm not an LSM of 1 to 4. I like to go and pick my fruits. I like to go and pick my vegetables, and my meats and so on and so forth. So I think that side to me is still very much a convenience. I think it's always going to be a threat in the industry, right? But I still don't think it's a threat now. It is something that is very hard to do as independents because we're fragmented already. And Sohail was not going to want to share his data with his competitor next door at the same time. So to me, it's what we offer the consumer at the store that brings them back. He's averaging 10, 12,000 transactions a day in a store. There's not any corporate stores, not many supermarket stores that actually get even close to that every single day. But yes, we also have the issue when we're talking data. It's this, there's a lot of people in this country that gets grants. Sometimes grants aren't paid out at the right time. So how do you make sure when you can buy your washing powder? Unfortunately, at the lower end, you do it when you have the means to do it. So another thing is that's where we also have to look, is we are also hiring about 80 to 100,000 people between all the stores.
How many?
80 to 100,000 people. Just our corporate stores at head office, there's 3,000 people just with our 10 stores. And one of them's a shoe shop, so there's only 2 people in there. So that's what I'm saying, is that we actually hire a lot of people. The more that we go into your data-driven and buy online, the less jobs you're going to have at the same time. And we had that discussion earlier about governments and how governments, what are they going to do to help us? Well, at the same time, what are we going to do to help them? Because I still believe a lot of South African businesses are the one that's holding out South Africa at the same time. So we can complain all the time, but we also need to say, listen, we hire people. We try and grow them. We help schools. And without asking money from governments, obviously. There's a benefit to both, obviously, but I think it's something that we both have to take advantage of.
Jason, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying, I think it's important to know your consumer, know your customer, be involved in the community. You spoke about niche markets. I don't think that you're going to go to a chain store, and I'll use my store as an example. We actually sell ox heads. We sell over 100 ox heads a day. You're not going to find that in a Woolworths or... right, so it's, again, knowing what your consumer wants. Sometimes I'm on the floor. I spend time with the customers. I'm walking around, and I hear the customer saying, oh yeah, bizala. So I'm thinking now what the customer is talking about. She's saying it's expensive, and I'll go back and I'll check, hey, with the costing, why maybe we're selling this product too high. We need to reduce the selling price. But these are the things where, on the ground, being there ourselves, we know our consumer. And that's always going to be the difference from anyone else.
And there's the most amazing customization that happens from community to community to community. Recently visited one here in Norwood, close to me. I couldn't believe I could see the fish. When you normally buy the fish, you're seeing a picture of a fish, right? But this independent had a whole variety of fish that I could see with my naked eye. It was incredible that I could choose stuff, feel it, see it, sometimes literally just get an essence of what it is that I'm buying. How do you manage to customize for all the areas that you operate within?
I think because we are hyper and you're catering for LSM 1 to 10, you got to have the cheapest 2 Rand biscuit to a 50 Rand biscuit, but you got to have it on your shelf. You got to satisfy everyone. To the customer who's trying to save through to the next payday, to the customer who has extra money. So I think that's where we've been really good at changing and transitioning as we grew to become a hyper. And even as far as saying we keep washing machines and dishwashers, and those things are what customers want.
So it's about responsive to what customers want. I don't think there's anything that's going to make that go out of fashion.
No,
being
for sure.
responsive to what customers want.
Even when I'm not, I'll ask people on the floor. I'll ask the staff: is customers looking for anything? What's new? What don't we have that they're looking for? They're buying elsewhere. I can't afford for them to go to shop somewhere else. I need to bring them back into me. And retaining those consumers is the hardest part of our job. They can come in today, and they'll shop happily, and she may not be happy with the security checking her slip. But retaining customers are an integral part of our business, and it's a challenge.
Please do prepare your questions. I'd love to take some also in between. What I'm struggling with, I think, in South Africa, when we look at the future of business, we're saying that we have to grow as a country. We have to have more independence across all sectors of consumer retail. But how do we start to infuse into the youth, into our employees, the freedom to still remain entrepreneurial? If you look at a lot of businesses, they were built around communities. One business has started, it gave birth to another business, gave birth to another business, and that is how today you see majority of the big organizations planted from the same seeds. In the communities you work in, what is it for you that you believe needs to get done to inspire the kind of work you do even further? So you're selling Iscopo, for example. How many people are, Iscopo is the head, the
ox head.
The ox head, right? How many businesses come out of into catering, selling traditional food? Do you have an eye on just the value chain of making sure that businesses around you as well are thriving?
Yeah, that's the difference with a community store. We want to see others around us growing. We want to buy from the local farmer. We want to buy from the local bottler, the person who's packing the ginger and garlic. Everybody around us, everybody needs to survive, and we're empowering those within us. I'd rather choose a local manufacturer first, or somebody based in Pietermaritzburg, and then start looking outwards. So that entrepreneurial spirit needs to remain within all of us, and we need to share what we have and be able to to work with each other. And even if somebody is not doing something, he's just doing ginger and garlic, but they can tell him, you know what, customers are looking for mango pickle. Let's start doing that there. So it gives him an opportunity, and then he grows and he succeeds in that there. And he may not only sell it to me, but he sells it to someone else. But everybody grows.
Brilliant. Jason, from your perspective, the bigger value chain, how else are you adding and growing the community?
Sorry. I think, look, it's difficult because obviously every store runs its own community drives. One thing we have, we have our own house brand. It's called Unity for the Community. We're trying to do everything. Let's say our motto in our business is united yet unique. So we unite as one, but everyone has their unique presence in their area. So for instance, Super Safe has been around in Maritzburg for a long time. We're not taking away his name and calling it Power Trade or Food Time, which is our brands. We would link it with them, right? And anything we can do, we've done things with helping schools. We've actually had, and what's amazing is some of these entrepreneurs, what they do is, some things, it's not only about price. There is a lot of loyalty with customers. And one of our customers actually, all he did was he went to the local cemetery, cut the grass, and put flowers out for everyone. And it was an African community, and that meant a lot to that community, just by cleaning up a cemetery. So, there is offshoots of whatever happens at the entrepreneur, but it's difficult, barring what he's saying, is adding new suppliers. And you also have to be careful. You can't just add, because it's going to also devalue a lot of your market. But to try and see where you can help, right? And again, Suhail started with one store with 4 tills. That's only 4 tellers. Now he's got 106. That's 106 tellers. The more he grows, the better you can get in that environment at the same time. And that's with a lot of our stores. I think the risk with it is that the succession and independence is our biggest risk. Is that if you don't have the Suhail to take over and maybe his son who takes over.
And I wanted to get to that, and I think one thing is funding, right? Remaining financially sustainable, but let's look at it later. And also, what is the advice to upcoming entrepreneurs? But since you've mentioned the succession, you followed your father's footsteps, but many businesses are struggling that it does not exist beyond themselves, right? So that's the other one. How do you ensure that the future is secure for your businesses?
That's a tough one. Look, my son's 11 years old. I try to bring him to the store as much as I can. He's more interested in playing on the laptop or his computer when he comes to the store. But it's just having him there and letting him see what's around and the environment that we're in and we're trading and the thrill that we have from buying and selling, or seeing the customer walking out happy out of the store. That's satisfactory, that's heartwarming. And he needs to see that. And yes, it may not happen now. It didn't happen for me when I was, I'll say a harsh word to use, hating my father at the point when he made me come to work. But it ignited a passion at some point. And you turn the switch. So you may not feel the entrepreneurial spirit today, but at some point it's going to kick in.
And you could also be a member of your staff, right?
Yes,
because
for
you
sure.
might find that you have talent within the organization itself. But yeah.
Sorry, I'll use one example. You're talking about that. So one of the managers that worked with my dad for a while, his son is actually in the business now, doing exactly what his father did back in the day. So he obviously saw the passion, and we're following through. As we're growing, we grow together. There
we go. And you, Jason? Succession, talent development?
Look, I think with talent development in our industry, again, it is different because if you look, I am the merchandise director, and buying is a different skill when you have to deal with entrepreneurs rather than your consistent, whatever your computer tells you what to buy and how much margin you're going to make. He might buy for 3 months stock at once, he might buy out because of a price. So to get a good person who has good social skills, you actually have to be an entrepreneur to work at Unitrade because you're dealing with entrepreneurs. You can't, I would never go to Suhail and say, well, you're doing this wrong, but I would say, listen, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? We try and treat his business like it's our business, because that's why we're here. Well, that's obviously one of the reasons why we're here. Members, our own people are obviously very important, and obviously suppliers are the other backbone in our business. But we have good leadership courses that we do in our business. Mm-hmm. There is succession, but I'm fine because my father's 68, so I'll retire before he will. So he's going to continue. But it is a major concern in most businesses, unless you look at a Suhail, and Suhail's still 37 odd, so he's still got a couple of years. You know, but succession, I'm just saying, is our major risk, and there is no answer to how can we fix it. It's just continue looking for the right people to get in to build.
Sorry, but Jason, I mean, just talking about succession, we didn't even know much about retail when we went. We ended up going to Atlanta in 2011. And I promise you from that point, it just struck differently about what we should be doing in our businesses and how we should be evolving. So that is also a succession, going for training, learning, and being able to utilize the skills that we have and using the resources that we have.
And I think it's a complex business. I mean, I think that you're running an extremely complex business in the sense that you are not guaranteed success in these economic times. It's tough to ensure that you are meeting bottom line all the time, managing suppliers, and then managing your cash flow. You know, what are your insights when it comes to the financial management of your business and ensuring its sustainability?
For me personally, I feel that expenses. Keep looking at the expenses. That's the only way that we need, that we're going to be successful, because GPs are getting tighter. We're getting boxed from, I don't want to say names, but corporate stores around us. One store taking another store, and soon, you know, in a 2 square kilometer radius, you have 5 other stores. So we need to be, our GPs are getting eaten into. So we just have to keep checking the expenses, and that for us is a financial risk and a threat.
I think on our side is that we need to. When my father started the business, it was all about the members, and it still is all about our members, because that's how we got to where we were. But there has been a shift in how things work. The older generation, key account manager, would just sign a billion, here's your money, move on, just take the stock. Whatever you do with it, I don't really care. You know, but what we need to try and change our mindset, as well as our members' mindset and the suppliers' mindsets at the same time, is where can we add value on that side? Because if you look at succession in our businesses, if I left and my family left, his business is a family business. His family is very close to my family. It'll open the door for competitors to come in tomorrow. I would do the same thing. So what keeps us competitive? He wants, at some stages, it's all about what his return is. And that's the same thing with suppliers. Suppliers are going to say, you know, you have to do this for me and I'll give you something. And I think independents or buying groups or buying associations have always said, just gimme, and get nothing. And now what we're trying to do is try and change and say, okay, well, come to our stores. Let's see what we can do. Don't only send brand managers to your modern trade. Or don't let your brand managers sit in ivory towers and, you know, look at the data there. Get into the store, see what's happening, because there's so much opportunity on range, and I'm not saying spend, it's about opportunity to spend and get a good return. And margin will change because, you know, 15, 20 years ago, they only sold 5,000 SKUs. He's selling 20,000 SKUs now. So his range is getting better. He's making more money. The supplier's making more money. I just continue making the same money.
And so he says. Can you see them playing off against each other here, you know? Okay, but one final question. How is it dealing with your fathers? Because what the business is today, what the world we live in today, fundamentally different to the world that was when they started the business.
Is this recorded?
I don't think that they are on Zoom, so they're not watching this. So how are you managing just the transition generationally?
You want to go first, Shah?
Yeah, look, I mean, for me, I think it's Jason and I can run and we can open 50 stores and we can open 100 stores tomorrow. But there's always that someone who's going to tell you, whoa, hold on, take it easy. You don't know what you're doing. Somebody just grounds you down and tells you, just watch what you're doing. Yeah, we have our loggerheads, but he's given me the rein and the ability to do what I need to do when I need to do. And I respect him for that. And at my age, he trusted me full-heartedly. And I think trust is an important thing. You cannot have succession in your business if you're not going to give a little. And it's safe to say that Jad's the same as well.
Yeah, look, I mean, they're not easy people, right? We're the easy ones, obviously, you know. I'm sure they feel the same way, but I think it is good to have these different types of thinking, this aggressive nature of, call it the younger, you know, I'm hungry, let's go and get 50 stores, to maybe saying, they're not going to say no to 50 stores. They're going to say, you know, slowly, one step at a time, do 2, 3, 4. And while you do that, that's where trust is gained. But, you know, it's very hard to compete with people like our fathers in the industry that have been around for a long time, that have made their name. So in the beginning, it's actually a bit detrimental to your own relationship, because if I get called the CEO's son one more time, I might just, you know, sort them out, because I've made my own identity. That's what I want. So Hale's done the same thing. In the beginning, it was, you know, it's Abu's son. Now it's not. Things are changing. So, you know, it's very good to have them. It's very frustrating at the same time. Luckily, my father travels a lot, so I can just do what I need to do, say sorry later.
You weren't here.
Yeah, no, but at the same time, there is a lot of trust. They do rein us back when they feel we've gone too far.
It's so wonderful to look at them and see the future already written out for you. And I really wish you all the best, and you're going to be hugely successful. Please do take a picture, because every year that you come, we'll be watching how well they're aging as well, which is so, you know, I've always thought Gareth has done exceptionally well, you know, remained quite handsome, Gareth. So good luck to you. You've got a huge role model to follow, and thank you for your time. Let's close our session, but you can stay with me while we just announce what's coming up. Somebody's really desperate to ask a question, so if one of the many mics that we have can really speedily come to the front, it would be really appreciated.
Sorry,
there's one right
while this
behind.
happened, can I just add one thing? I just
Yeah,
want to
let him just add one thing. Go ahead.
I think I just also want to thank CGCSA for letting us actually be here, be exposed. And it's obviously also come a lot from the Advances group. Dylan, you know, he does all these surveys, and you know, he says, "Oh, we were great, we're doing so well," but he's given us data and knowledge that can always make us better. So I want to say thank you to the Advances group and CGCSA. We really appreciate it, and it's just going to make us better, because knowledge is power.
Absolutely, absolutely. Please ask your question.
Thank you so much. My name is Rachel Tebe from Tiger Brands, and I have quite a few questions for Jason and Cyril, right? While we hear about how you're saving billions and, billions of South Africans in terms of consumers and our customers, what measures do you have in place in terms of quality and food safety to ensure consumer protection? And what is your impact, or what is your take on the regulatory spaces? How do you take part in those globally and also locally? Thank you.
Okay, obviously on my side, we're a future distributor. We're not an actual retailer ourselves, so I don't have to worry about food safety. Thank God for that. So Hal, you would obviously...
and he had to answer that question because it doesn't involve him. Okay.
No, but food safety is of the utmost importance, and we always maintain what we can't take home is what we'll never sell. So we want what's best for our consumer. And even just general, basically checking expiry dates around the store, that's something that happens on the checkbook every single day. Somebody's got to check it, it's on the checklist. It's imperative that it's checked. And Department of Health is out around all the time to check things and make sure that we are obviously governed and monitored. And from an international side, we also associated through UMS to Independent Grocers Alliance. And they also come out once every couple of months to check out our stores and see what's happening and what we're doing. Am I right, Jason?
Correct. Yeah. I don't know. I don't go with.
Okay, thank you so much. I mean, I think it's been an incredible conversation. It's good to have you here. You definitely are going to be a part of the CGSA future, so we'll see you next year. So I don't know if we have the QR code for the Mentimeter survey that people need to do right now. Do we have the QR code? So can we put up the QR code for contributions, questions that you want to ask? Here's the QR code. So the way the QR, okay, there we go. We got people who know this. There we go. Just ask a neighbor if you don't know how this works.
Okay, lots of photos.
Oh, okay. They need you to shift. So
So
let's give a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Are we done, huh?
Take one right here.
Oh.
This behind me, yeah.
One more question, please.
I also have a question.
one more question.
Hello.
Okay, hold on. So while you're busy with the QR code, will we have any questions that come up with any specific questions that come with the QR code? Are there any specific questions that are going to come with the QR code? Can they come up? They are in. Once you've logged onto the app, the questions will be on there. Please fill it in, and then we'll have a view of any contributions. Let's take a quick question. I've got one that side from earlier on. A quick one.
Okay, my name is Nokolo, and I am a manufacturer of muesli cereal. The name of my company is Masa Muesli. So the question is to the two gentlemen, and it's regarding the red tape around supplying you guys. Because I know with Pick and Pay, Mr. Ackerman, and others, it's quite hard to get into supplying for them. So I just want to know how easy is it to get in, and how difficult it is to get in, so that I can also put my product on the map as well. Thanks.
How do I get into the stores? Like, what is the process? Do we have another question so that I've got sight of where it is? We've got Josta in the front. Okay. Do you wanna grab that one quickly? Can we put on his mic, please? They'll put it on for you now.
Yeah, so with the Voluntary Trade Association, would come see us, we would look at a list of your products, we would go to our customers and say, what do you think, so on and so forth, because if you go put stock in and it doesn't sell, it's going to be an issue. So we're always open. We have about 30 to 40 new suppliers coming to see us every week, and we don't actually sign on a lot of them. There is a small fee to it, but again, I would always go and say, I don't think your product's going to work nationally. So that's how we would do it. And then obviously we would partner with you because we have our own Salesforce teams, we have our marketing teams, and obviously our finance teams. But there would be two options. One preferably would always come through me. So on the other side, you can go to any independent store in the country and it's all up to the person that sits in there.
Look, I mean, answering your question, there's no red tape. If you're actually going to come and see me if you wanted to supply me, it's my decision to make. And if I feel that the product's a good product and it's at the right price, then I'm going to do what's best for my consumer and put it on the shelf. It's as simple as that.
And you have the joy of agility, right? There's a lot of agility. You make decisions really quickly. There's no long registration processes, online forms. So it's an agile environment, again, competitive advantage. One more question here, and please can I have a mic to the lady raising her hand?
Good day, gentlemen. My question is around data analytics, and as independent retailers, what do you do? How do you use data that you mine to improve your processes and operations? How do you use data to grow your business? And how do you use it to reach a new audience and targets?
Okay, I can answer that. So in 2022, December, we started taking data seriously, a bit too late to the party, but nonetheless, we've partnered with Infinity to do a rewards program. And we've got over 150,000 customers on our database. That information we will now use and our partner up. For example, currently we're running a promotion with Premier Foods, where we're giving a car away. So buy for 300 Rand or more, swipe your shopper loyalty card and stand a chance to win a car. We take that information, we send it off to Premier. They obviously analyze that data. We give it to them in a shorter format, but they analyze that data and they know how to do target marketing. But data is important. It's going to be the future, whether we like it or not. So we have to get involved with it.
And that's the beauty as well, again, of being an entrepreneur and at this age, at a young age, is that you've moved the intuitive analysis of your environment into technology, and it serves a great purpose. One last question. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Rhoda here from the CGCSA. My question is, I think seeing now with the tighter regulatory framework, I just want to build on that. For independent retailers, we're seeing not just on the POPIA, information laws, now ESG, and from an independent, I'd like to get a sense of how has that impacted you? I mean, multinationals have a bigger budget to be able to ensure that they implement some of the requirements insofar as that is concerned. So I just want to understand how has that tighter regulatory framework had an impact on your business and obviously affected your competitiveness? Thank you.
Look, I think we we had to bring in more resources for those regulatories, but at the same time, it made us aware that, you know what, we're not keeping up with what we should be doing. And it made us aware that we need to be, up our standards and up our game. So it turned out to be a good thing. Yes, it may cost a little bit more, but we want to be up there competing with the corporates, and if not better.
And it's possible again. Size allows you to be agile and also a good grasp of all the elements at the same time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's give him a final round of applause. And thank you for your inputs on Mentimeter. Time for lunch. Lunch is being right out here in the foyer, and it's being served at the Kellanova stand. Every single year, really good food, great drinks, great vibes. Enjoy lunch. And I will see you in how many minutes? 40 minutes, please. We will play the music and call you back in 40 minutes.
It's fine. I'll look.